storyline leading up to everything.
Pereira knocked out Adesanya with one punch. This man is a...
Destiny awaits. All said and done, I'll be like, he's a GOAT.
Sweet Mother Mary, welcome back to Fight Week here on BT Sport. Hope you are all well. It is your official weigh-in for UFC 281. I'm Adam Cattrall. Pleasure as always to be in your company. And as you can see, up bright and early over on the West Coast is the Hall of Famer himself, Mr. Michael Bisping, and always up, ready to rock and roll, the one and only Mr. Nick P. Gentlemen, how the devil are we? We good?
Yeah, I'm great. I mean, I'm still drinking my morning coffee. These guys can jump on the scales anytime they want and we can get this show on the road, but very, very excited. UFC 281. I mean, what an epic card. Can't wait for it.
Nick, have you had your pre-morning text from Molly McCann letting you know that she's on the way to Watson? What's going on?
No, I think she's spat a dummy out that we're not there, to be honest with her. She's a bit upset with me, but I have heard from her team. And I have heard that as of last night, she went to bed just 1 pound over. So there won't be any issues on the scales from Molly this morning, that's for sure.
All right. Well, listen, for people tuning in this afternoon here in the UK, of course, we're going to get the runners and riders on the scales very, very shortly. Hopefully there's no missed weights. We're going to get 2 title fights and everybody's going to sail in. Not like last week where we had 4 misses. Fingers crossed there's no drama. Everything goes tickety-boo. Don't forget, this all goes down on BT Sport 2. 1 a.m. prelims get going in the early hours of Sunday morning with that main card getting going from 3 a.m. Check it out. There it is for you. Israel Adesanya taking on Alex Pereira in the main event. Middleweight title fight on the line with the strawweight title in the co-main event between the champion Carla Esparza and Zhang Weili, hoping to become a 2-time champion. You've got the people's main event there. You can see it. It's that lightweight bout. Yes, it says 3 rounds, but come on, don't be greedy. These boys are going to go at it and they're going to give it you big time. Dustin Poirier taking on Michael Chandler. Frankie Edgar in his final fight at Madison Square Garden. What a wonderful place to call time on a phenomenal career. Bantamweight bout against Chris Gutierrez. And then kicking off that main card, like I said, getting underway at 3 a.m. UK time. Dan Hooker taking on Claudio Puelles. Right, boys, let's not mess about. We've only got about 7 minutes to get through these previews. Let's get stuck into that main event then, shall we, Mike? I know that we've done the big preview. Israel Adesanya looking to go 13-0 at middleweight, taking on his arch nemesis, it seems now, in Alex Pereira.
Yeah, the bogeyman, the nemesis, his kryptonite, whatever you want to call him. This might be the man to either make or break Israel Adesanya, meaning if he beats him, I don't really see who's going to contend with him at middleweight anytime soon. But this guy might just have the formula to beating him. He's beaten him twice in kickboxing. He's got the same frame, the same height, the same reach. He's got a very, very similar skill set. However, he might hit harder, be bigger, and a little bit stronger. And of course, coming into this one, he has the mental motivation, the psychological advantage of having those 2 wins. But Israel Adesanya this week said he's in a dark place. He couldn't care less about the belt. All that matters to him is beating this man, beating him in style. So this is guaranteed to be an epic showdown tomorrow night.
Nick, what have you learned from both of these guys this week as you checked in with some of the press conferences and interviews that they've both been given?
Well, for a start, they both got horrific fashion sense. Look at the state of Pereira's jacket there. I don't know what he's skinned for that. And forgive me if I'm wrong, it looks like the champ. The champ's wearing Crocs. He's wearing Crocs on stage. I don't get it, man. I loved it. Look at that. A little tribute to me there with the P around his neck. Look at them Crocs on the champ. Unbelievable. But listen, exactly what I expected. Pereira, full of respect. Like, listen, okay, I've got this opportunity early, but I've got no reason to fear Adesanya. Meanwhile, a champion in the opposite corner. Lots of chat about a vintage performance. Lots of chat about kill or be killed. About ending the chapter, ending the rivalry here. Just a little glimmer there of where the mindset's at. But as Mike explained, very similar in terms of age, stature, reach, experience outside of the octagon, but inside the octagon, heavily favoured in favour of Adesanya there. But let's be honest, of those 23 wins, pretty much all of them came in the stand-up battle. He kept the fight on its feet because that's his strength, but that's Pereira's strength as well, which is why we can't take our eyes off this fight.
Listen, we're going to get into the nuances of that throughout the whole course of the weigh-in today, so stick around for it. Let's get into the co-main event because we've got a second title fight on the line. Strawweight this time, champion Carla Esparza looking to defend against Zhang Weili, who's looking to become a two-time world champion, Mike.
Yeah, and she's looking for respect and validation, you know, because she is a great fighter. She's a two-time champion. She's on a 6-fight win streak, beating tough competition, beating Rose Namajunas twice. But that fight with Rose, you know, it wasn't the most spectacular. If she can go out there and beat Zhang Weili, then she will be known as, you know, yes, the champion, but certainly the best in the division as well. Zhang Weili is just an absolute marauder. We just saw a little highlight there, knocking out Joanna Jędrzejczyk. I mean, she hits hard, she's physically strong, and she's aggressive in the octagon. And here we see them squaring up yesterday. It's going to be a great fight. It all comes down to basically, if you ask me, can Zhang keep the fight on the feet? Can she stop the takedown? If she can, she wins. Carla needs a takedown to win. So I think that is going to be a big storyline in this fight.
I know that there's obviously a language barrier when you hear interviews with Zhang Weili, Nick, but she seems incredibly confident with some of the translations that are coming through. And from a Carla point of view, I think you pointed it out a couple of moments ago, Mike, she's looking for respect. She seems to have been disrespected coming into this fight, and from the chat that she's been given this week, she's looking for that respect.
Yeah, and you know that'll keep her mentality strong. She needs the mentality of an underdog going into this. Carla Esparza likes to feel like the world is against her because she is a big underdog. She's underdog. Look at the betting lines on this fight. Even though she's the champion, even though she's got back-to-back wins over Rose Namajunas, who had back-to-back wins over Weili, everyone is very much facing the Chinese challenger. So she's up against the Carla Esparza. She knows it, but she's using it as a motivator.
Got about 3 minutes before the boys and girls hit the scales in New York City. Only time to sprinkle in a little bit of a people's main event. Stop moaning that it's not 25 minutes. It might not even go 15. That's what it's scheduled for. It is in the lightweight division. It's Dustin Poirier taking on Michael Chandler. Last year, Michael Chandler gave us a cracker against Justin Gaethje. This one's set to be even better, isn't it, Mike?
Oh my God, I mean, last year was just phenomenal. Talk about sucking the energy out of the room. Everyone needed to lie down, a cigarette and a 5-minute nap because that fight was so exciting against Justin Gaethje. And this one promises to be just the same, let's be honest. When have you ever seen Dustin Poirier in a boring fight, or Michael Chandler? Chandler and Poirier both this week seem to think that there's potential for this being an unofficial #1 contender fight. Of course, Makhachev is the new champ. Neither guy has faced that person, licking their chops at potentially getting a shot at the title. So a lot to play for. Two great fighters, two very exciting fighters, and yeah, the people's main event for a reason.
Absolutely. Listen, I've enjoyed these two going back and forth with each other in the build-up to this fight. You can hear the excitement there for the people that attended the press conferences throughout the course of the week. Nick, in the preview, we did chat about the big ramifications for this fight. We've got a new champion. It's breathed a little bit of fresh life, especially into former challengers that these two are. Do you see that the winner of this could go on after Volkanovski to become that #1 contender?
I think there's a lot of fighting to happen before then. As you say, the big one in Perth, the Volkanovski, the showdown of the 2 pound for pound #1 and #2 stars is going to have a big influence on that. But listen, I think both these guys are fighting to stay relevant as a contender. The loser here from this weekend goes away and really does have to rebuild, and that's what's on the line. And that's why it's perfect over 15 minutes. Don't take your eyes off it. Anything can and probably will happen. And yeah, as you say, there's so much on the line for both these guys.
Now, this is no disrespect to the rest of the main card. I'm just keeping my little mates here happy because obviously Molly McCann, the meatball, spins into the Big Apple this weekend, taking on Erin Blanchfield. It is a tough fight. Let's get a quick preview of it because, Mike, I know that she's been in with Taylor Santos in the past, Molly McCann, but this could be her toughest test to date.
Yeah, potentially. Every fight where you go out there, you never know what's to be expected. But to be honest, I think Molly's in a really good place mentally. I've been watching her this week. There it is, the spinning elbow. We've had 2 in a row. She's actually saying we might see 3 in a row, but she's got to be careful that she doesn't set a stall out too early and telegraph that because Blanchfield, she'll be looking to take it down to the ground. I think she has an advantage there, but all-round mixed martial arts and just that spirit and that fire. Come on, there's not many that can match Molly McCann for that.
Seems to be in a good place mentally, Nick, building into this one, obviously off the back of 2 stellar wins earlier this year.
Yeah, she's in the form of her life. She knows she's getting better with every fight compared to where she was just 2 years ago. Molly's a completely different animal. She deserves to be ranked in the top 15 and she wants a ranking in the top 10. And I think Erin's at a different stage of her career. She's still only 23. She is very raw. She's talking this week about the perfect, flawless performance. That's a very mature attitude against the girl who's as tough as Molly McCann. So I think she's in for a big shock. And as Mike says, if Molly can keep her head in the game, which I think she can, I think she gets a big win this weekend.
Hopefully, we've got some pictures from New York. Where are we at? I think we've timed it, lads. I think we've absolutely nailed it. Look at that. We've done the previews. The bosses will be happy.
Professionals.
And now we're ready to rock and roll with the weigh-ins. Don't forget, UFC 281 does go down on BT Sport 2 in the early hours of Sunday morning. 1 a.m. prelims, 3 a.m. that main card. Digital scales, you'll notice there, as Carla Esparza, the champion, hits the scales.
14.8. The official weight for the champion, Carla Esparza.
There you go, up and running.
14.8.
Good to see. It's good to see the digital scales, though, out, because there's been a lot of debate recently about, obviously, whether it is and whether it isn't.
Well, I'm sure Charles Oliveira would have something to say about those digital scales being present or unpresent for his weigh-in. Who have we got here? Here he is, Dustin.
The Danny.
Yeah. There.
Just got a little bit of lag with our feed there. Hopefully we can sort those problems out. But Dustin Poirier about to hit the digital scales all over in New York City. Looks good.
Yeah, he looks good, phenomenal. You know. Yeah, he's been. I've seen a lot of chat this week about who the best is and all. A lot of questions about where his career's at, what he's achieved in his career, where does he rank in the GOAT status. I don't like that kind of chat. That sounds like retirement chat to me. I want to know if Dustin Poirier still wants to belong at the top of the tree in this lightweight division. He's a very wealthy man now, let's not forget, after the wins over Conor McGregor. And it's third time. He's going to have to come for a third time in order to win this title. It's going to be a tough road back for him, and it starts tomorrow night.
We haven't seen him, have we, since December, Dustin Poirier, and that obviously defeat to Charles Oliveira. So it's going to be interesting. In the build-up, you boys both pointed out how much dog is left in there. Here's the champion, Israel Adesanya.
185, the official weight for the...
Never in doubt.
There it is. Spot on. Yeah, Dustin's got that hot sauce money now. You know, Chandler was talking about it this week, or someone was. The sponsor in the UFC. I'm like, right, I need to start my own bloody sauce, brand, whiskey, something. I mean, come on. God, Dustin stealing all the success. Are you a hot sauce man, Adam?
I am. Listen, I don't know if you can see in the back of my shot here. I've got a little bit of Dustin's hot sauce just here in the corner there, matey. He sorted me out when I caught up with him recently.
115.6, the official weight for Silvana Gomez Juarez.
She never in a dull fight last time. Oh, yeah. Sorry, Adam.
I was going to say never in a dull fight. I don't think she's been out the first round yet as Silvana in her UFC tenure.
Yeah, that's right. Unfortunately, caught in 2 arm bars. But then last time out, I think it was in Singapore, took her opponent out of there pretty quick, about 40 seconds, knocked her out, I do believe, with a stiff right hand. So very, very exciting, but a little lacking on the ground.
Yeah. It's a big opportunity for her, though, against Karolina Kowalkiewicz. It's a big name.
Big name, big history. Lot to play for there, as you say. Towel.
$135.8, the official weight for Montel Jackson.
There we go.
What was Montel? 130. He was bang on, was he? He was bang on weight.
Oh,
towel.
Did he say 135.5 or 138.5?
I thought I heard 138.
Oh, he's way over then. He's way over. This guy's got history of missing weight, by the way. He has missed weight before. A couple of years ago now.
I don't know what,
but he has.
I don't know what he's smiling at. Is he getting back on, or is this someone else?
Fighter to the scale, one half of the featured prelim live on ESPN.
Is this Moicano or Riddell?
I'd say one of them.
We're kind of guessing at the moment because of the lag that is coming our way from Madison Square Garden. Hopefully, we can get a thicker pipe to get the pictures to us. But again, another.
Oh, Maxi Baby tells us that Montel was 135.8.
Oh, so he's 0.3 over. No, he's under 136. Yeah, 130.
No, he's fine. You get the 1 pound allowance, of course. Yeah. Here is Renato
Moicano. He's coming at 155.8, so he is fine as well.
Okay. So nobody's missed as of yet. There you go.
That's going to be a great fight.
Yeah.
Moicano, Brad Riddell, of course, both looking for a win here, but neither man's ever in a boring fight. Moicano, last time out against Dos Anjos. I mean, he lost the fight, but the fact that he took such, and listen, I'll choose my words carefully, but he did get, kind of beaten down, and people were saying the fight maybe should have been finished, but then in the 5th round to come out and have the best round that he did against the former champ, Rafael Dos Anjos. I mean, never in a boring fight. Black belt BJJ skills and vicious hands as well. Love that guy.
He took that fight, Mike, at 4 days' notice as well. He stepped in for Rafael Fiziev. So to do that over 25 minutes, very impressive.
Just trying to get a. I tell you what, it's a bit happy that curtain early doors, isn't it?
Well, I don't know if
people have
the curtain's happy or the scales are mad.
Yeah, everyone's making weight though. So far, spoke too soon, maybe.
Digital scales, boys. You've got to be bang on. Can't be messing about on digital ones.
The old hand in the air trick. It doesn't do anything, but psychologically you think, I'll do this. I've seen other people do it. I've spoken to some experts. They're like, it doesn't do a damn thing. But still.
Breathe in.
Gents, by the way, I know that we missed because of the lag. That's Zhang Weili behind that. So Zhang Weili's just weighed in at 114.8. And therefore we have that co-main event. Collar Esparza weighed in slightly earlier on. Zhang Weili, who's just getting dressed again. We now have officially a strawweight title fight.
Great.
114.8 for Zhang Weili.
To be honest, there was never any doubt to that. Zhang is a professional. Yeah. She's very, very reliable. And so is Collar Esparza. Collar Esparza always shows up on weight, in shape, and she always fights her heart out. You know what I mean? As I say, she's fighting for a little bit of respect now. And I only say that because the fight with Rose Namajunas, I think Rose Namajunas.
Here comes Molly. Erin Blanchfield, and then Molly McCann will be next, we are told.
Oh, right. Here we go.
125, the official weight for Erin Blanchfield.
Championship weight from Blanchfield. Like it.
Mm-hmm. And next athlete to the scale just so happens to be her opponent, the 15th round.
They must have been having some banter backstage, I tell you. Molly wouldn't have let her get away with that.
Oh, she can't help herself, can she? Do you know what I mean? She would have been, for sure.
125.4, the official weight for
Great stuff.
Molly McCann.
There's
Easy
Molly's
work.
six-pack. Have a good look at it. It won't be there in 20 minutes. Poor Mol.
If that's what you call a six-pack, Nick.
Listen,
That
I'm
ain't
giving
a
her the benefit of
six-pack.
the doubt, man. I'm giving her the
That's
benefit
a half
of
a
the doubt.
pack.
Answer Frankie Edgar.
Is this the last time we see this man on the scales? He says all week that it will be. It's going to be an emotional night tomorrow night at Madison Square Garden. Frankie Edgar weighing in for the final time.
135.6, the official weight
I tell you
for
what,
Frankie Edgar.
he looks very
He's in
sucked
great
in,
shape.
but that's
Yeah, he's got that old man lean about him, Mike. You know, when you get to a certain age and you start looking, when you get so lean, you look like bedraggled a little bit. That's where the suntan's fooling no one, Frankie.
That's what I want to be. I want to be so old I'm very lean.
Describe this type of lean. Yeah, describe this lean, Nick. What's Michael Chandler lean?
Well, did you see that photo this week?
For Michael Chandler.
Yeah.
There was a photo there doing the rounds this week at the start of training camp, and he looked 9 months pregnant.
Let's be straight. He did.
Yeah. Paddy the Baddy, eat your heart out.
Welcome our next fighter, the steamroller, Matt Frivola.
Matt Frivola on the
This
early
is a
prelims
fight
against
as well.
Hotman
No,
Azata. This is a mental fight. This is a crazy
What
fight.
a fight. Exactly. Azatar's just a complete and utter loose cannon. But Frivola as well, man. He's not called the steamroller for nothing. Jersey boy as well. Family and friends in the audience. Big night for him.
For Matt Frivola.
He's got big wins on his record as well, Mike. He's beat the likes of Jalen Turner, Luis Pena. I know he's got recent losses to Tsarukian and Terence McKinney, but this guy can absolutely fight. Matt Frivola doesn't take a backward step.
Oh, no, listen. As you said, it's the perfect nickname for him. Hold on. Competing with John Anik there. Well. Yeah, both of these guys, they always show up, as you say. It's a tremendous matchup.
This man's story.
Well, this fight should have happened. Oh, yeah, this is insane. But this fight should have happened on Fight Island in January 2021. But if you remember, Azatar was basically cut from the UFC after breaking COVID protocol rules, cutting his wristband off, all kinds of other shenanigans. So that's why we haven't seen him for so long. It's just nice that the UFC have gone, right, you can come back in 2 years later, but you're still fighting Matt Frivola because we were excited first time around.
And he's on.
Unbeaten in 13, 10 finishes.
The official weight for Otman Azaitar.
Mate, he's a talent.
Now that's a six-pack.
Yeah, it is. He's a serious talent, but like you said, Nick, 2 minutes ago, he's a bit of a loose cannon. The scenes on Fight Island where he was cut and then allowed back into the UFC, we've not seen him for just over 2 years now. He could be brilliant. He's just got to take it seriously, hasn't he?
Yeah, I think he has a lot going on outside the octagon, to be honest with you. Him and his brother are two wild men. So, but if they can keep his head in the game, he's a contender for sure.
Carlos Ulberg.
Kicking off the show, Carlos Ulberg from City Kickboxing, of course.
He's a unit, man.
First one. He's a big boy.
Oh, he is. He's massive. Big lad, tremendous kickboxer. Coming off a good win last time out as well.
He's turned down a stint on The Bachelor as well, boys. You know what I mean? He must like fighting.
For Carlos Ulberg.
He's a model, I think. I'm sure he's a catwalk model when he's not fighting, but he can fight as well.
Oh, catwalk. Oh yeah. Catwalk. With his high heels on, strutting down, giving it the blue steel on the end.
Don't knock it till you
give me your best blue steel.
Love it. Go on, Nick. You've got the blue steel all day, son. Give him a bit of the blue steel.
Oh, baby. No, that's a Magnum. What are you doing? That's Magnum all day.
That's something.
Here's Wellington Thurman.
185.2, the official weight for Wellington Thurman.
Yeah. This guy can fight as
well.
Off in February. For nothing. Yeah. A great career in Muay Thai first, based out of Curitiba in Brazil, like so many good strikers. Moved over to Connecticut to join that Glover Teixeira team alongside Alex Pereira. Tough in the UFC, brilliant outside the UFC, like so many, 3-3 in the UFC, though, to Thurman. So, big opportunity for him, needs to get a win.
There's Claudio Puelles. Joined the UFC in 2018. He's only had 5 fights since. He's won them all. 3 knee bars. He'll be licking his chops at the prospect of fighting Dan Hooker, won't he, boys?
Yeah, look, listen, it's a pretty simple approach for him. Try and get on the inside, get a single leg, which is his go-to takedown every single time, and then look to try and take advantage of an apparent weakness on the ground from Dan Hooker. On the feet, you got to favour Dan. He's taller, he's longer. He's by far a better kickboxer, but Puelles, he's quiet. You don't hear much from him, but he does all his talking inside the octagon.
Yep.
Sung Woo Choi taking on Mike Trizano this weekend. He's 3-4 in the UFC, this fella. Lost his last 2, but he's blooming entertaining. He's always in a good fight.
Yeah. He's had a funny career. He's a former, he represented career at the Muay Thai World Championships, picked up a bronze medal for what that's worth. Transitioned to MMA, went undefeated, started in the UFC with 2 defeats. Then he had 3 wins back to back, and now he's coming off the back of 2 defeats. So whatever he had 18 months ago, he needs to rediscover that again and get back there.
Yeah, he lost in Singapore back in June, but it was a very, very good fight. I like his fighting style. He's got a beautiful jab, nice boxing. Here's another city kickboxer, Brad Riddell. Shut up, Eugene.
Lost his last 2, though.
Official weight for Brad Riddell.
Yeah,
Fiziev, obviously in a great fight.
Yeah, and then he got subbed in one by Jalen Turner, who is the phenom of this division. You know, he's kind of come from nowhere, so no shame there whatsoever. This is a really good fight with Moicano, to be fair.
Main card in the lightweight division, 12th ranked, Dan Hooker.
Big night.
You know, you're talking about Izzy's style.
155.8, the official weight for the Hangman, Dan Hooker.
I don't know if you saw pictures of Dan and Izzy together this week. I saw a picture of them posing in the elevator at Madison Square Garden, and all I could think of was, remember that PlayStation game, Cool Borders, in the 90s?
Yeah.
That's what they looked like. I thought, why are they dressed like snowboarders? If you see the picture, you'll know what I'm talking about. It's a pretty accurate description. But who cares about the fashion sense, the Crocs, the snowboarding? All we care about is what they do in the octagon. Dan Hooker brings it every time. Yeah, last time Arnold Allen took him out of there. But to be fair, Arnold Allen was on fire that night. And I don't think anyone would have stopped him at the O2 Arena.
Right, little update, because obviously we did have a little bit of lag there coming from Madison Square Garden. I'll give you who's come through on that main card. We've seen the champion in the middleweight division, Israel Adesanya. He was on weight. We're still waiting for his opponent, Alex Pereira. We have the co-main event. That's done. Carlos Esparza and Zhang Weili both hitting the scales earlier on. Dustin Poirier and Michael Chandler have also both been through. We've seen Frankie Edgar, final fight for him. His opponent, we're still waiting for in Chris Gutierrez. And then the fight that kicks off the main card from 3 a.m. here in the UK on BT Sport 2. Dan Hooker, Claudio Puelles have also both weighed in. For British fight fans, we've already seen Molly McCann and her opponent, Erin Blanchfield. We are waiting for 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 fighters still, all on prelims and early prelims there. So, you know, we've got a bit of time. We've had 17 minutes of the weigh-ins. They've all come through thick and fast. Right, boys, let's get stuck into a bit of preview and have a bit of fun with this, shall we? Because obviously everybody's attention's on that main event. We're all licking our chops at Israel Adesanya taking on Alex Pereira. In our preview, we spoke about the build-up to it. Let's say, Mike, that Israel Adesanya is successful. Doesn't matter how he's successful. Let's say he is successful. What does he do after this if he is successful? Because he's lapped the division.
Well, he's talking about going up to light heavyweight. He's talking about going up to heavyweight. So he's certainly setting the stall out. And if he was to do that, hold on.
Chris Gutierrez.
Here he is, Frankie Edgar's opponent. Chris Gutierrez.
Boo! 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 Let's get him used to it now.
That's not very nice, Nick. The man is a hard-working mixed martial artist.
The entire
give him a bit of respect.
Every fight fan around the world wants this guy to lose. Let's be honest, it's Frankie's last fight. But as we joked about in the preview, this fight changes his life as well. It's the scalp he's been waiting for.
Yeah, and it's a scalp that is very likely to take, and that's no disrespect to Frankie, and I'm on board with you. I mean, I would love nothing more than Frankie to go out there, get a win, final fight, Madison Square Garden, to cap off an absolutely legendary career. And Frankie knows that, so he's coming in. I think we're going to see something special from Frankie. But Gutierrez, I mean, oh my word, I mean, this man, the movement on him, the kicking game that he has is very, very elusive. Obviously, Frankie's going to be looking to take him down and use the hands and box him up a little bit. But if Chris has a little bit of room to maneuver inside the octagon, could make it a very disappointing night for Frankie.
Yeah, absolutely. But listen, the only person we're waiting for now on that main card is Alex Pereira. Let's get back in quickly before somebody hits them scales again, Mike. You were just saying there about Israel Adesanya. If he is successful, and it's a big if because it's a tough fight, of course, and we are jumping the gun just a touch. I've just spilled water all over myself here in the middle of the show.
Adam. What's so excited?
That's how excited I am. What does he do next should he be successful?
I mean, if you look at middleweight, who is there? What, another fight with Robert Whittaker? Paulo Costa gets another win and then goes at him. They're all rinse and repeat. He's been there, done it. Going up to light heavyweight, I think he said this week, look, Yuri Prohaska is a part of the Paradigm Sports Management team as well, so he wouldn't do that. He's talking about heavyweight. I'm not sure that's the move, to be quite frank. So I don't think we'll see him move just yet. You know, I mean, Izzy's great. Could he give some heavyweights? Bit of an issue. Of course he could. But, you know, there's weight classes for a reason. And Izzy struggled at 205 going up against Jan. You know, I think going up to heavyweight, I mean, I love it. I love it. I love the story. I love the hype. I love the confidence. But are we really going to see him jump up 2 weight classes and fight the likes of Derek Lewis? I'm not sure that's the reality.
From a divisional point of view, Nick, do we need Pereira to win to breathe fresh life into the division?
I wouldn't necessarily say that, no, because, at the end of the day, Adesanya's putting together the kind of win and run that's become compatible with some of the greats that's ever done it. Just because he's rinse and repeat, and that's not his problem. I don't think there's a big push to see him fight Whittaker for a 3rd time for obvious reasons. But Robert Whittaker, let's be honest, is probably the standout number 2 guy at 185 pounds. What we need more than anything else is for the likes of Strickland and Till and Muniz and people like that to put it together and try and come forward, or maybe even Khamzat Chimaev to move up to middleweight for that fresh injection of talent as well. I think that's inevitably what we need. I think for me personally, I don't buy into the whole ease with paradigm. Listen, I'll give you the Kamaru Usman. We're both from Nigeria. It's a cultural thing. We can't do it. I'm not fighting him because he's from the same management company. That is utter nonsense. That is not how you define a legacy and go down as one of the greats. So I'd like to see Izzy, if he wins this fight, maybe have a look at the middleweight division over the next 12 months, but start a strength and conditioning program that builds towards a real move to light heavyweight towards the end of 2023. And I think then that's how he truly becomes one of the all-time greats, if he can win the belt up at 205. Forget all that. Maybe it's because he doesn't fancy Yeri. Let's be honest. I wouldn't fancy Yeri either. However, if he wants to be one of the greats, he needs a belt in a second weight division, because there's a handful of people that have done it now.
Well, you're right. You're right, Nick. Oh, sorry, Adam. To be fair, this lag is a killer. Who knows if they've even met each other? And if they have met each other, it will be a very polite, "Hi, how are you? Oh, great, mate, blah, 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 blah." They're not training with each other. They don't live with each other. They didn't start on this journey or this path together. So, being with the same management company, who knows? But let's be honest, it's only a few weeks away. Yuri's fighting Glover again. Now, if Glover wins, which, let's be honest, that first fight was back and forth and absolutely sensational. But if Glover wins, there you go. Potential there.
Yeah.
If he is successful this weekend, Israel, he will equal Anderson Silva's middleweight run. I know that Anderson did 16 in total. There were 3 light heavyweight title fights in there as well, but 13 at middleweight. Who had the better run, Nick?
That's a really interesting question, because when you look at, obviously, Anderson's one of the greatest of all time, and Anderson was doing things like what we'd only ever seen in Bruce Lee movies. He was doing it inside the octagon. So you've got to remember that at that time, there was this just complete step up in the quality of mixed martial arts, because he was doing things nobody thought you could do in an actual sport and competition. So you have to have lived that Anderson in Silva era to really understand how powerful it was for the sport and how incredible he was. However, there was a lot of boring fights in there. There was a lot of gimme step-ups to different weight divisions just to try and stay busy. That's something that hasn't been afforded to Israel Adesanya, who, as it should be in the UFC, especially a division like this, it's about taking on the number 1 contender or the number 1 available contender every single time, and that's what Izzy's done. So I would argue that Izzy may have put a better, finer run together, but again, don't come at me on the comment section. I lived through the Anderson period.
I'm going to come at you right now.
Go on, Bisping.
I'm going to come at you. I'm going to come at you right now. Hold on a minute. So he comes to the UFC, makes his debut against Chris Lieben, destroys him in 49 seconds. Then he takes out the champ in round 1, Rich Franklin, legendary fighter, legendary middleweight, destroys him with the knees. Then he beats Travis Luther, submission due to elbows, takes him out round 2, destroys Nate Marquardt in round 1, once again obliterates Rich Franklin, takes out Dan Henderson in round 2 with a rear naked choke, goes up to light heavyweight, wipes the floor with James Irvin, same with Patrick Cote, decision against Talislitis, sprinkled one of them in, but it's not like Izzy doesn't go to decisions, knocks out Forrest Griffin while simultaneously being in the Matrix. Damian Maia, snooze fest, we know. Chael Sonnen triangle, Vito Belfort, front kick to the face. Yushin Okami, TKO punches. Chael Sonnen, Stephan Bonner, the list goes on.
You're struggling there. You're
starting
to struggle towards the end.
You're struggling, mate.
You're struggling down the end there.
Right. Mike, just look through those 16 fights then.
Well,
and
yeah,
try and keep
he
it
got
in the
beat
middle.
off Michael Bisping.
Yeah, he did. Yeah, just try and keep it in the middleweight division. What's the best 5 that he's put together there, do you think? Anderson.
God, well, you got the best 5.
Back to back, I mean.
His record, yeah. Back to back. Well, you got Chaelson and Yushin Okama, Vito Belfort. You've got Dan Henderson, Rich Franklin, Nate Marquardt, Rich Franklin. I mean, there's some good names there. You can't, obviously, these are old school names. Do you know what I mean? Because he's from another era. He's from another generation. So you can't always compare them like that. Yes, of course, the sport of mixed martial arts evolved and the fight is now probably better and athletically better as well. The sport has progressed. The sport has moved on. So you can't compare the level of competition from today and then say, well, Izzy was fighting easier talent. You know what I mean? It doesn't work like that. There's a lot of legendary names on there that help build this sport. And granted, when you look at Adesanya, Paulo Costa, Robert Whittaker, Marvin Vettori. I mean, what he's done is spectacular. They both are. I mean, I was just having a bit of fun before. I've got nothing but the highest respect for Israel, what he's doing, what he's achieving, the people that he's beaten. And to be honest, he is lapping the division. He is making it look easy. But so was Anderson. But still, these comparisons, they're not even required. They're just both two, by far, the best champions that we've ever seen in the UFC, in the middleweight division. And yeah, we're going to have these kind of conversations, but I'm sure neither man loses any sleep at night.
No, absolutely.
Yeah.
It was a real
TV,
question.
Mate, you know what I mean? I just thought I'd ask
it was a real question.
TV, you know what I mean?
Well,
you know that our social
media
you're
comparing apples and oranges. You're comparing chess to checkers. It's like Daniel Cormier giving a list of the best fighters featuring boxers and MMA guys. That's like doing a list of the best rugby players and having bloody American football players on the list as well, just for the crack. And who the hell doesn't have Muhammad Ali as number 1? DC's out of his mind.
Yeah. All right, I'll go to the one that's on the screen from people that are tweeting in, and you can do this. Obviously, we are a fully interactive program as we're waiting for people to hit the scales. The only person on the main card that we're still waiting for is Alex Pereira. Everybody's come through and weighed in bang on this morning so far. This is from B. I think it's from a West Ham United fan. There you go. If Izzy was to win Saturday night and Till was to... here we go. Is this from you, Nick? Here we go. Till was to win by a devastating KO at UFC 282, could you see the champ giving Till a chance for the title, seeing he has lapped the whole division? Nick, Pete, over to you.
Well, yeah, obviously. Because you've currently got Whittaker ranked number 1, Cannonier ranked 2, Vettori ranked 3, Pereira ranked 4, Brunson ranked 5, Costa ranked 6. Oh, do I need to keep going? And by the way, Izzy's beaten all them, and a couple of them he's beaten twice. So, yeah, I think if Izzy wins and wins in style tomorrow night, if Till beats Duplessis in style, and I tell you what, that's just as tall an order. Duplessis, again, sees this as his route to a top ranking and a title shot. But if Till looks sensational, yeah, I could see that fight happening next. And the reason is because of fresh blood, because they know it would sell, because Izzy needs the real challenges in terms of promoting his own brand, growing himself bigger. And don't forget about the other narrative that goes along with it. If Izzy gets in with Till and beats Till, guess who's next? Till's mate. That's how you set up a Khamzat Chimaev fight as well. So, yeah, I 100% can see that happening, Scouse or not.
Next fighter to the scale competing.
Mr. Bisping, I'll come to you in a minute. Let's get back to New York because there's another fighter hitting the scales. Petrosky on the prelims, early prelims it is.
185.8, the official weight for Philadelphia's Andre Petrosky.
Done him a disservice there. He's not on the early prelims. He's on the prelims, taking on Wellington Turman. Interesting story, Petrosky.
Yeah.
3 fights, 3 wins, 3 finishes. That's his UFC story. But once upon a time, he was addicted to heroin, and he's got himself clean, and now he's an elite fighter, obviously spreading the good word, Nick.
That was only 2018 as well. Guy was a standout college wrestler, but kind of lost his way, and then found BJJ, and then started a family, and then somehow he finds himself as a drug addict, and he had to reform, and he says even now he's in the UFC, he's on a bit of a run, he's putting it all together. But this is a guy that feels like he's here for a purpose, and that is so powerful sometimes. I talk about this a lot with a lot of fighters that have got God in their life, got a religion in their life, that they believe that they're on a different plane and everything's happening for a reason. This guy is actually out there saying, listen, I really shouldn't be here, but now I am here. The least I can do for me and my life and my baby daughter is give this thing 100%. And I tell you what, his performances inside the octagon prove it as well. 3-0 in 13 months in the UFC. Brilliant.
All finishes as well.
I was just going to say 3 finishes. Michael Gilmore, TKO, and then 2 submissions. Last time out as well against Nick Maximov, who's a very, very good grappler. Took him out there, Anaconda in round 1, made it look somewhat easy. And as you said, Adam and Nick, I think a lot of fighters would credit mixed martial arts of saving their life for one reason or the other. Certainly mine. I was going down the wrong path, and then all of a sudden I had a reason to stay on the right track. And I'm sure it's similar for Andre Petroski. Of course, he went through a lot of adversity, beat addiction, and congrats to him. But having something productive, having something in your life to really work towards, and feeling like you can make something of your life, having a purpose really helps, regardless of what it is that you're trying to fight against, whether it's addiction, whether it's some, substance abuse issues, whatever it is, if you're hanging out with bad friends, you're just partying all the time. All of a sudden, when you see a reason to not go and hang out with your friends, to not take drugs, to not look for the answer in the bottom of a bottle, all of a sudden go into the gym and trying to work towards a structured life where you can really make something of yourself. I don't think he's alone in that. Certainly that's the case for me as well.
Mike, just to flag up on what Nick was saying a moment or two ago about the middleweight title, and a question from one of our viewers, which is available to everybody to get involved. All you got to do is interact with us on social media. Could you see, if everything played out the way that we laid it out, could you see Till being the next one in line if Israel Adesanya, of course, again?
I mean, it's a big shout, but to be honest, if all the chips fall into place perfectly, then yeah, absolutely, because he has gone through everyone. They have been linked to one another before. Israel does fancy fighting him. We know that this fight would sell. Darren's a massively charismatic star. He's still got a huge name. Yeah, he's struggled a little bit lately, but everyone struggles at some point, more often than not. But he's still right there. If he can put Duplessis out in style, rock it on the microphone, Izzy gets through it, Yuri, defends the belt against Glover, he's going to need to fight someone, because he's under no obligation to change weight classes. And who else is it going to be? As Nick said, if Darren finishes him in style and says to the world, I'm back, this is what I'm capable of. I've had some injuries and I had some ups and downs, but I'm back. I'm in the best shape of my life. I'm in the best form of my life. I just knocked him out. You want a real challenge? Let's go. I don't think anyone would have a problem if Izzy was to face him next. Face him next.
nice little remix.
That's all, folks.
That's not the lag. That's just him messing about, just in case you are watching this. I don't know if either of you caught this over the last 24, 48 hours, but Robert Whittaker was on Australian TV and he was asked the question as to if he had any preference as to who wins at the weekend. And his answer was brilliant. This is why I love Robert Whittaker, because he just said, I want them both to knock the living daylights out of each other. I want them to really hurt each other. I want them to beat absolutely everything that they've got left out of each other. And then I can go and fight the winner, and hopefully I'll fight a lesser version of where they are currently at. And I suppose that's what every single contender is at right now, Nick. And especially someone like Robert Whittaker, who's right at the top of the tree. He's looking brilliant at the moment. He'll be looking at this fight thinking to himself, listen, if it is Izzy again, it's Izzy again. But I'm sure, even though he's given that phenomenal answer, he'll be thinking to himself, I kind of want Pereira to get the job done, so therefore I can get back in there. And his style, I think, would mix quite well with Alex Pereira.
Yeah, and the crazy thing is as well, when you think about this and you think about how styles match up, Izzy and Pereira match up perfectly because they're both kickboxing background, they're both strikers, they're the same size, everything else. Whereas Robert Whittaker's more of a rounded mixed martial artist. He's going to mix in your takedowns. He's going to mix in grappling and wrestling, jiu-jitsu and everything else. Weirdly enough, if we were sitting here now and we were previewing Whittaker versus Pereira, I'd be more convinced Robert Whittaker beats Pereira than I am about Izzy. How crazy is that?
Yep.
And, Izzy's beaten Whittaker twice, but styles make fights, and I think Pereira is badly lacking in the ground side of the game, the grappling side of the sport, but he hasn't got to worry about that against Izzy. He does have to worry about that against someone like Robert Whittaker, so I think it's a fascinating insight there. I think you're right. I think he does want Pereira to win, but I also think, as Mike touched on, if Izzy beats Pereira and beats him in style, and I think he will, there's a narrative there, especially if Glover wins his belt back. You've beat the students. Can you go up to light heavyweight and beat the master? Can he beat Glover Teixeira next?
Storyline.
Hey, to sell.
He loves the narrative. You winced a little bit there, Mike, when he was talking about takedown and the grappling aspect of Alex Pereira. Go on.
Yeah. Well, it's only an opinion, but from what I've seen, I don't think it's fair to say that Izzy has better grappling. I saw, and as I say, it's only an opinion. I haven't rolled with either guy. I haven't grappled with them, so I don't know it. But what I do know is that in the first ever MMA fight that I saw Pereira in, he was quite aggressive off his back. He was hitting a lot of submissions. He was going for belly down arm bars, and he was coming very, very close. If you compare that to my first fights, my ground game was bloody awful. Do you know what I mean? The technique was really, really bad. And he's training with Glover Teixeira, who has some of the best grappling or some of the best MMA jiu-jitsu in all the sports. So I think he's, I think on the ground, I think Pereira in jiu-jitsu has an advantage. In terms of takedown defense, in terms of getting back to his feet, I think Izzy's better there. I think Izzy's shown he's incredibly hard to take down. And to Nick's point, that is why people like Whittaker will be licking their chops, just like the lightweight division was when Oliveira lost to Islam Makhachev, because it's fresh blood. It's a new contender. It's a new division. And you better bet your bottom dollar. Whittaker's like, if Pereira wins, I'm coming in, baby.
Absolutely. Listen, Kieran, I saw your question on the screen. Don't worry. I'll throw that towards Mike in a moment or two, but the fighters are still coming through, weighing in for UFC 281. If you are just joining us on our live weigh-in show, only Alex Pereira on the main card still to come.
150.6, the official weight for Karolina Kowalkiewicz.
There's Karolina.
Yeah, she's at such a strange place. Yeah, she looks great. Listen, she's, we're allowed to say because it's on the stats. She's 37 years of age right now. Same as her opponents, incidentally. But she's just had such a strange run in the UFC, of course, Karolina. She was at one stage 10-0 in the sport. She was coming off a win over Rose Namajunas. She looked like she was flying. She fought JJ for the Strawweight UFC title, came up short, and ever since has been on a little bit of a disastrous run. I think it's just 3 wins in 10 outings for her. She did get a submission win over Felice Herrig back in June, retired Felice Herrig back then. So hopefully that's a pickup for her, but you feel both Kowalkiewicz and Juarez in this fight, 37 years of age, to lose at this stage of the career would be pretty difficult to bounce back from.
Mike, there was a question on the screen a moment or two ago from one of our watchers, Kieran, asking, who would you have preferred? Now, I know that you're going to say, I'll take anybody, anytime, any place, because that's what you used to do, mate. That's what you used to do. However, stylistically, which one would you have preferred? Adesanya or Pereira?
Probably Adesanya, to be honest. It's always, if you look at the two people, of course, we could see Pereira go on and have a long, great run, and challenge the likes of Izzy and Anderson. God knows they've got a similar skill set and frames. In fact, the three of them are very, very similar. But as of right now, of course, it would be Israel Adesanya because he's the man, he's the champ, he's the guy that's defying the odds, and almost he's close to becoming the GOAT of the middleweight division. Not quite there just yet. Even though he's going to tie Anderson, I still think the way Anderson did it was better. And maybe it's just because he's a legend, and he's very contemporary. But in terms of, their styles, they're pretty similar. But just simply based on name value alone, it would have to be the champ, of course.
How would you have fought him?
Same way I fought Anderson Silva. Same way I'd fight Alex Pereira. Put him on the back foot, get on the inside, take away the reach and the range, take away the kicking game, put him up against the fence and fill the goddamn faces in. Maybe mix in a little takedown here and there. Grab him in a clinch, pull the head down, ram my knee square into the face. Look at them on the floor, covered in a pile of spit and blood and vomit and say, off you park, back to Australia. Adios, amigo. Safe flight, bloody harm.
Sorry, Mike. Just to correct you there, Mike, you talked about same as when
New
you fought
Zealand.
Anderson. You said ram their face into my knee, when what you should have said is ram my face into their knee. That's how you beat Anderson. It took his power away by butting his knee, yeah.
Yeah, I will headbutt your knee with such ferocity, okay? You will be delusional. You won't know what's going on. You don't know whether you're coming or going. I mean, he'll be on top of the cage celebrating, thinking, wow, I've won this fight. And I'll be on the floor just chilling, taking my time, knowing, listen, nah, mate, the fight's still going on. We still got round 4 and 5, baby. Go and waste all your energy. Do your thing, and I'll see you in 2 minutes.
Keep your questions coming in, and we'll get them on the show, as we are obviously waiting for a few more fighters to come through for today's weigh-in show. Just a quick one for you, because obviously I know that you're obviously here to check in with the weigh-in, but you want to check in with the fights. Prelims get going on BT Sport 2 this weekend. Usual time for prelims, 1 a.m, and then that main card gets going from 3. Molly McCann on the prelims, second fight in. So we're anticipating around about 1:45 UK time in the morning. So make sure you're tuning in for that. Let's get back to the questions, shall we? Hey?
1:30.
First fight will be about 1:15.
1:30 she'll be on.
Boys, bickering.
Look at you.
Either way. I'm not having people complaining that they missed it because you give them too late a time.
1:45, right? In fact, text him, tweet him when it's 1:45, just to let him know that I was right. Anyway, would a statement KO from Chandler or Poirier give them a title shot? We kind of touched upon this a little earlier on, didn't we, Nick? Where are you at with it? I think what the person they're referring to, M. Bolton, who he's referring to, is a statement victory. One of them viral moments, one of them moments that absolutely go around the world, that capture everybody's imagination.
Yeah, listen, I think right now, the table's been laid, hasn't it? I think Volkanovski is going to get the next shot at Islam. It's going to happen in Perth. It's going to be early next year. So a lot of it is going to depend on that fight. Don't forget, of a fight of that magnitude, I know that Volkanovski is coming up from the weight division below, but you're basically talking about the pound for pound best 2 guys on the planet. And when that happens, when you get lightning in a bottle like that, especially if it's a close competitive fight, don't be surprised if they go at it again. Now, that's not to say it will be close and competitive. There could be a decisive winner there, which again would then open the door potentially to somebody else in the lightweight division getting an opportunity early to late summer. But it's the most stacked division in the entire sport. And there's 1 or 2 guys that have been waiting longer than most. There's 1 or 2 guys that have had their nose pushed out because Volkanovski's jumped ahead of the queue. Beneil Dariush springs to mind, of course. Justin Gaethje's very much still in the mix as well. And as Mike touched on earlier, Islam Makhachev, 90% of these guys are new to him. This is all fresh blood for the new champion. So if he was to hold on to the belt especially, I think most of this division will want him to hold on to the belt to get their opportunities. It's always tough. If Volk wins, Volk's already said, I'm going to jump between both weight divisions. That means there's only going to probably be 1 lightweight and 1 featherweight title fight each year. So that's the last thing you want if you're a leading contender in the lightweight division. But to your point, to your question, Chandler Poirier carry name value above that of the likes of Dariush, Fiziev, those type of guys. So, of course, the opportunity lies there. But I think we'll just have to wait and see what happens in Perth on February 1st.
Well, Michael Chandler has been talking of that very thing this week, calling out Islam Makhachev, saying, listen, my wrestling is better. And we know that Chandler, on the microphone afterwards, he always has these viral moments. He's very, very good. He hypes up his next fight. Yeah, he's awesome on the microphone. He really is. And I think he's going to have a little... If he can get the job done, if he gets the right to have the microphone on Saturday night, he's already got the call out laid out. He's talking about good old-fashioned D1 American wrestling, beating Dagestani wrestling, just to prove that who has the best wrestling style. And I'm telling you, if he words it just right and does the call out the way that he could do, because we've seen him, he's epic on the mic. You never know. That could be the next fight for Islam Makhachev, because that's not a done deal yet. And there's Henry Cejudo coming out of retirement. He's done in the testing pool. He's calling out Volkanovski. He's calling out every man and the dog, to be quite fair. But if Poirier or Chandler has like an epic knockout and they do the job on the mic, that might be next. You never know.
What have you made? I know that you just been mentioning Chandler there on the mic, and I know that I saw all that when he was talking about Islam Makhachev and the wrestling and that comparison. But he seems to be mentioning Conor McGregor a lot this week as well, Nick. I think he maybe has one eye on, if Conor McGregor does come back to the UFC, that Michael Chandler wants to be front of the queue for it.
Yeah, listen, and it absolutely makes sense if you're in the Michael Chandler business, because you're talking about the biggest draw, the biggest cash cow the sport's ever seen. So, of course, you know, that he won't be short because when he does ever come back. I'm highly unlikely, looking at Conor's social media, that he's ever going to weigh 155 pounds again. He looks absolutely massive at the moment. But then again, even if he came back at 170 or bigger, Michael Chandler would happily fight him there, I'm sure. To Chandler, weight is not an issue. It's just about the opportunity. But he won't be alone in that. I think name anybody, champion or not, whether they want to face Conor next. And that's why Conor gets these opportunities, because he can literally handpick anybody on the entire roster. So it makes sense if you're Michael Chandler. As you say, we point out there, he's an intelligent guy, Chandler. He knows exactly what he's doing. He understands this game, and he understands, you know what? Belts look nice on the mantelpiece, but millions and millions of dollars in the bank, that sits a little bit prettier in the long term.
Well, that could be a fight with respect for the loser. Do you know what I mean? That Chandler loses, you know, because Conor's not coming anytime soon. I think Dana said at a press conference recently he's going to have to do 6 months in the USADA testing pool for obvious reasons. But if Poirier loses, the title fight's out the window, but that another fight with McGregor would be there. And of course, for Chandler, if he loses, that one of the biggest fights is McGregor. And for McGregor coming back, Chandler would be a great fight. But I'll shut up.
35.8, the official weight for Julio Arce.
There you go. Julio Arce coming through. He's taking on Montel Jackson in their bantamweight clash. Interesting character, this fella. Only loses to the top guys of the division. He's got a win over Dan Ige on his resume as well. He missed weight last time out, so he'll be delighted, Nick, that he's hit the scales and not had any bother this time around.
Yeah, we missed back in April as well, so pretty recent. So he'll be delighted, as you say. Probably wasn't the, you know, he hasn't played. It's obviously been a hard cut for him, hence the reason why he's 45 minutes late to the scales. But this is a former New York City Golden Gloves champion, knows what he's doing with his hands. I say he's got some good wins when he first kicked off his run, but he hasn't really gone his way since. Never really been able to capitalize on that Dan Ige victory, which he took at late notice, that fight. So he'll be looking for a little bit of home advantage. Hopefully big fan base, big family presence in the crowd to really kickstart his UFC tenure.
1-2 on the early prelims, still waiting for. We're waiting for Don Reyes and Ryan Spann, who are fighting each other in the light heavyweight division. That's on the prelim. So there's 4 fighters. And by my calculation, there's only one on the on that main card. And it's the guy in the main event against Israel Adesanya. Are you looking into that at the moment, Mike? Or are you just thinking to yourself, well, it'll be cool, he's just chilling?
I mean, who knows? The reality is they have 2 hours to weigh in. I always say, you know, you have a plan, you have a strategy. I mean, most of the time, if they're any good, they're not winging it. They're not just trying to, you know, they've either strategized to be the first people like Izzy was, or some of the last, which means we're going to be sitting here for quite some time. But the reality is Pereira is big. Remember, that was all the talk when this fight was first made. Izzy is a guy that kind of very easily makes 185, even going up to 205. He doesn't get that big. Pereira, I forget the weight, but it was a while ago, and he was like 218 pounds, something like that, and he looked absolutely gigantic. So it doesn't surprise me that he wasn't one of the first on the scale, because I think, well, in fact, I know, you know, I think we all know he's having a much, much tougher time making 185, what Izzy did. And even though it's only £1, when it's not a title fight, it's 186, you get that £1 allowance. This is a title fight. He has to be 185 on the dot. And even though it's only £1, let me tell you, when the weight cut starts getting towards the end, your body only has so much to give. And it might be £1, but sometimes your body just says, nope, we are done. We do not have any more water to offer you. So who knows? Maybe it's a strategy, or maybe he's up there running back and forth. His team are going crazy. They're begging him to get back in the sauna. They're having hot towels on his head. They're telling him to get on the treadmill. He's running around in a sweatsuit. They're all swearing at each other in Portuguese, all madness. Or maybe just sitting there cool as a cucumber saying, brother, this is what we do, but this is not how.
Why is everybody from Dagestan?
I don't know.
One thing,
love it.
Listen, I think there's definitely could be an element of that there. Obviously, there's a lot of history between himself and Adesanya, and there's a lot of mind games that will be going on, and we've seen it during media week all week. And I'm hoping that's what this is. It's a case of, listen, we're on weight, but let's let them sweat about it. Let's think we're struggling. Let's make him maybe contemplate changing up his game plan to think that we're going to be weight trained tomorrow night. There's that school of thought, but then there's also 12 months ago when he was still in kickboxing, he was defending the light heavyweight belt over in kickboxing. He was the light heavyweight champion last November. It was only November, if you remember, that he came over to the UFC and he switched to MMA full time. He was actually still fighting in kickboxing as a light heavyweight, defending his championship in the light heavyweight glory division as well. So, as Mike pointed out, he's a big old boy, man, and you just don't know. I know he's never missed weight so far in the UFC, but as Mike said, it'd be interesting to be a fly on the wall up in that Brazilian dressing room right now.
And he was a 2-weight division champion, glory as well, worth mentioning, middleweight and light heavyweight. So, and then when you saw them, you see that video that Dana released, I think it was at the press conference where they squared up. Now, granted, Izzy's walking around in Crocs. Maybe there isn't the same rise as what there is in the shoes of Pereira. But when they squared up, maybe Pereira had a big set of Timberlands on, gave him an extra inch. But when they squared up, it certainly looked like Pereira was a much bigger guy, in my opinion. I don't know what you think.
Yeah, absolutely. And Israel Adesanya is a big dude as well, man. So God knows how big Alex Pereira is. He's a big old unit. Interesting question there on the screen from Alfie. Do you think at lightweight, Michael Chandler has the best style to beat Islam Makhachev? What do you reckon, Mike?
Well, shout out Alfie. Hope you're well, mate. Yeah, probably. I mean, who've we got? I mean, there's Beneil Dariush as well. I think he would match up well with Islam. He just needs one more signature win. Hopefully that's Charles Oliveira. But Chandler said it best himself, as I said a moment ago, the wrestling style. He might have the wrestling to nullify Islam Makhachev. He might be good enough in the wrestling department to stay on the feet. I don't know if he is. That's why I'm so intrigued to see that. And I'm sure a lot of people would be. But yeah, in terms of wrestling, he might keep it on the feet and then it all plays out in a kind of a kickboxing match. But I don't know. What do you guys think? Who else is there? Obviously, there's Dariush. Gagey, I don't think so. Gagey might be able to stop the takedowns as well, but offensively, he doesn't use wrestling whatsoever. So, I don't know. I'm not sure.
You're kind of going down the list looking at people that never got beat up by Khabib, aren't you, really? Because, as good as Gaethje's wrestling.
Let's bring Al Quinta back.
I think there's the good thing about this division, there's so much depth in talent there, and I think you've got to start looking at the likes of Beneil. You've got to look at the likes of Rafael Fiziev, who just looks spectacular in his feet at the moment. There's just so much talent there. There's a lot for Israel Makhachev to get through before we compare him with Khabib. But let's be honest, last time out against Charles, he looked absolutely sensational. And right now, you look at the entire list at lightweight and you go, on a performance like that, they all need to be on their A game, and he needs to struggle for them to even have a look in. It looks like he's about to build a real solid reign at 155 pounds, and it's up to the rest of this division to step up to the plate.
Well, yeah, because there's a few big names, isn't there? And we all know who they are. The Chandlers, the Poiriers, the McGregors, people like that, the Gages. But they're all, with respect to them, like kind of the old guard, the old school. Once you get out of that top five, you got all the new school generation. Like we said before, the Jalen Turners, the Arman Sarukians, the Fizievs, people like that. So if Islam can get through those top heavy names, the ones I just mentioned, I mean, who knows? I mean, those are the people, they're accomplished fighters, but I could see Islam going on a ridiculously long title reign. You know what I mean? Once he gets out of those, that top few where the sharks are swimming, and then he just starts chipping off all the other contenders. That's no disrespect for them. They might be very well capable of beating him. But we could see Islam going on some crazy Anderson Silva, Israel style run.
Yeah.
I think the majority of fans would probably go along with everything that you said. But what you've not considered is this, boys, right? Next up, he's highly likely to be Alexander Volkanovski, yeah? He's only got little legs. When Makhachev goes and shoots and takes down and likes to wrap them legs up, there ain't going to be a lot of leg there to wrap up because he's only tiny. He'll be able to
tree
pop
stump.
out nice and quick. That's it. Straight out the back end. Beautiful. Bouncing back to his feet, keeping that fight on his feet and giving us an absolute firecracker that we all are absolutely thirsty for. There you go. Just a little bit something to consider. Here's one for the co-main event this weekend. Obviously, Carla Esparza defending her title against Zhang Wei Li. Carla Esparza going into this fight, Mike, is a betting underdog. Is that fair?
Yes, it is. It is, and that seems very fair on the champ. You know, she beat Rose fair and square. I had her winning on the night. She was busier. She got a couple of takedowns. There wasn't much landed. So well done to Rose. Sorry, it's Carla. Pardon me. It's still very early here, guys. Well done to Carla.
Hold on. UFC's light heavyweight division, former world title challenger and the 7th ranked contender, the Devastator Dominic Reyes.
We'll come back to that co-main chat in a minute.
Yeah, training with Alex Pereira. He says that he's Dominic Reyes 2.0. And that's a great training partner for Adesanya and for Pereira. I mean, let's remember.
Yes.
Hold on. Reyes
205
is very confident and capable on the feet. Very competent is what I was looking for. Look at how he knocked out Chris Weidman. Look at that run that he was on before facing John Jones. You know, and he struggled a little bit since then. But you know, Dominic Reyes is phenomenal. To be training with Pereira, that's going to bring out the best of him, and vice versa. So that is a great matchup between Pereira and Dominic Reyes.
Yeah,
if you look at his run, very good. Yeah, he is very good yet. Sorry to jump in. As Mike said, he was 12-0 before he got that shot against Johnny Bones Jones. And, you know, a lot of people believe that he may have edged that fight against John Jones. I believe John Jones just did enough. But, you know, like either way you cook it, it was a very close fight. And then since then, yes, he's lost his next two. But his next two were against Jan Blachowicz, who was about to become champion, then Jiří Procházka, the current champion. My only issue with Dom Reyes is, what version of Dom Reyes is left? Is he still that deflated, downtrodden, chip on his shoulder, the world's against me, I never got the decision over John Jones? Or is he truly Dom Reyes 2.0? Because if he is, we've got a real new strong contender in this division, but with only one fight in the last 2 years, we just don't know what version of Dom Reyes is left. I hope he's no longer licking his wounds. I hope he's looking at potentially getting back in there with the likes of Procházka and Glover Teixeira, because Jan Blachowicz, and maybe even Glover if he wins the belt, because this is a guy with so much talent.
Yeah, that's a really interesting point that you've just brought up, because we've not seen him in the octagon, have we, since May 2021? And that, when we did see him, he was splattered by Jiří Procházka with that spinning elbow. It was an unbelievable knockout of the year contender, wasn't it? And that's going to take a lot psychologically to get over. Has he got over it? Has he rebuilt himself over that period of time? And how will he approach this fight at the weekend? Because Ryan Spann's an interesting one as well, the guy that he's fighting. Because when he's good, he's really good. But sometimes he just doesn't turn up, Mike. Sometimes he's just like, goes through them getting beat. So it's going to be interesting to see what version of Ryan Spann we get this weekend.
Yeah, absolutely. That's what makes this a compelling fight. Ryan Spann, as you say, he's kind of hot and cold. When he's on, my God, is he on? Do you know what I mean? But then I think it was kind of recently when he fought Anthony Smith. I mean, Anthony Smith was on absolute fire that night. I don't think there was a man on earth going to beat him, but he went out there, took care of Ryan Spann pretty simple. And we've seen similar kind of things from Reyes. For Reyes, I think it's a good idea. He's been away for 18 months, you know, and training with the likes of Pereira. And of course, who coaches Pereira? Glover Teixeira. Do you know what I mean? So the people that they've had in that training room, having 18 months off, training with guys like that, I think we're going to see another version of Reyes, the 2.0, as he says, you know, or he better hope so. Because if he fumbles the bag here, that'll be 4 in a row. And granted, against all very, very good position, but he's going to stop getting these big fight opportunities. So, yeah, it's a very telling fight for both men.
Yeah. For people just joining us, we've had an hour of the official weigh-ins from New York. We've got the feed there at the top. We haven't had any missed weights as of yet. We are still waiting for Alex Pereira to weigh in for that main event. We've got 3 fighters a little bit further down the cards as well. But the good news is that the rest of the main card absolutely have come through and hit the scales, including that co-main event. So we've got that strawweight title fight in the books. Molly McCann came through as well, as did her opponent, Erin Blanchfield, and they're also through, obviously rehydrating as we speak. Just Alex Pereira on that main card is what we are currently waiting for. I'll go back to that core main, Nick, if I may, and talk about the champion going into a fight as the betting underdog. Why do you think that is, given the fact that she's on a 6-fight streak and some of the people that she's taken out in that 6th fight have been right at the top of the tree, including Rose Namajunas?
Yeah, I think it's the eye test, isn't it? You know, you look at Zhang Weili, you look at how powerful she is, you look at the wins that she's put together. I think we accept the fact that she got caught cold against Rose first time around, but she looked absolutely incredible. And you see the improvements with Yang as well. You can see her getting better with every single fight. And maybe her first title reign was a little bit premature, but, you know, she looked sensational knocking out Joanna last time out in the summer. And with Carla, you know, there's, again, performance against Yan Zhaonan, sensational. You know, that was a brilliant win for her. Knockout in the 2nd round, absolutely huge. Put her on the road for that second and the fight with Rose to win her title back. But I just think you know what she is. She's a girl that's looking for a points distance. She is a wrestle-heavy kind of fighter. She doesn't seem to have the same kind of physical strength of somebody like a Weili. So I think that is why she doesn't get the respect that she deserves. But listen, we lamented, we talked about it endlessly on the preview show, saying anybody that's in 6-0 form and got a belt around the waist must be respected in this sport. And I think Weili will have prepared for something very special, will have prepared for the very best version of Carla Esparza. But I personally might think the best version of Carla Esparza against the best version of Zhang Weili, there's only one outcome, and that's Anne the New.
Yeah, and I think it's probably because when you look at Carla, she's just not as dynamic. She doesn't seem as fast or as athletic. But you can't deny, I mean, I'm just looking at her record. The 6-fight win streak is against very good competition, and it progressively gets better and better. Vima Jandiroba, Alexa Grasso, she's great. Michelle Waterson, Rodriguez, Yan Zhaonan, and then Rose Namajunas. They're all very, very good fighters. And don't tell me that each one of those fighters didn't walk in knowing that Carla's going to try and take her down. Carla's going to come with a wrestling-heavy game plan. But were they able to stop it? Were they able to beat her and win, essentially? No, they weren't. So she deserves to be the champ. And yes, she does get a little overlooked. But again, I think it's because of the greatness that we've seen from Zhang Weili. You know, Zhang, when she beat Jessica Andrade, I mean, what just an explosion of violence that was. The way she took out Jon Jacek last time, that spinning elbow, put a spinning back fist, put a flat line on her face. We never saw that from Jon Jacek. You know, yeah, she had those 2 losses to Rose, you know, and Carla's beaten Rose twice. So again, it's even crazy that she's the underdog. But as we always say, styles make fights. It comes down to the wrestling, if you ask me. But most ladies know that.
Yeah, should be an interesting matchup. Adrian's just kind of chipping in as well on this co-main event. This is an interesting question. If Esparza were to lose at the belt this weekend, are we going to get Zhang versus Thug Rose trilogy? Listen, Adrian. Yes, eventually I think we will. But come on, man. We need some fresh blood in there. Amanda Lemos was absolutely brilliant last week. She deserves her crack. I think she's at the front of the queue, Mike. She's going to get, surely, the winner of this fight at the weekend.
Yeah, and that's what she was saying last week. She did look fantastic, went out there, beat Rodriguez in style, and Lemos should be next. And yeah, look, listen, a trilogy is normally when you've got a win on either side. You know, it's not really a trilogy. Listen, I love Robert Whittaker. I'm a massive fan of his. But getting that 3rd fight against Adesanya is going to be tough when you're 0-2. Same with Zhang. You know what I mean? I mean, Zhang probably wants to fight Rose. Of course, she probably feels like she can beat her. But I don't think they're going to shove that down our throats again just right now. There is other people out there.
But on that,
Rose versus Zhang.
Yeah. Just on that, just to interrupt you. Sorry to jump in. Obviously, if you look at the Volkanovski-Holloway situation, because that was 2-0, wasn't it? But Max Holloway went away and put in stellar performances to earn that 3rd fight. And if you look at Weili, she's just starched Joanna. And what if she starches Carla at the weekend, and then maybe even does Lemos, and does Lemos as well.
But you're forgetting one thing, Mr. Interrupter Catchwell, is that Rose Namajunas flatlined Zhang, right, and then the next fight was
and then had a contentious second
fight.
Exactly.
The fights with Volkanovski and Holloway, a lot of people thought Holloway won them both. Just like Dana White thought Jose Aldo beat Marlon Moraes, so he still gave him the title shot against Piotr Jan coming off a loss. A lot of the world, I even said it to Holloway to his face on the post-fight show that I said it to Volkanovski, that I thought Holloway won. Everybody thought that. So therefore, Holloway went away, proved he's the next best in line, and because of the general consensus being maybe he should have beaten him, I'm not taking anything away from the champ. They were both incredibly close, but that was the narrative there. That narrative doesn't exist here. One was shin on shin, flatline, put you out, put you to sleep. Second fight was close, but that's one fight close, one fight flatline. Adam, listen, in this situation, you are the Karen Bryant. You're very good at setting us up. Nick, we're the analysts, okay? We're the ones with the clout. We're the ones that know what we're talking about here. So do me a favor, pipe down, okay? Put your slippers on and leave the real analysis to me and Nick.
Do you want to say anything, Nick?
Correct, Michael. Correct.
he's probably gonna he's gonna agree with you now anyway.
Keep your questions cut. Yeah, he wants to. He wants to 2-foot me. Anyway, right. Keep your questions coming in. Fully interactive show, as you fully well know. We'll get your questions on the show as and when they pop up on our screen. The ways that you can communicate with us are obviously on the ticker at the bottom. All the social media handles that we currently have are all there for you. You will already see as well a little bit of information on that ticker at the bottom, letting you know which fighters have already weighed in. I know we've just been speaking about the co-main event because that one's in the books. We're ready to rock and roll. That's definitely going to go ahead at Madison Square Garden this weekend. Carl Esparza defending that crown against Zhang Weili. We're unsure, though, about the main event. The champion, Israel Adesanya, came through nice and early. We are still waiting for Alex Pereira. Obviously, he's got to hit 185 for it to be an official world title fight. Everybody else on the main card has come through, including Dustin Poirier and Michael Chandler. You'll be thrilled to know about that. And those that are Molly McCann fans, she came in ages ago. She's back rehydrating, as is Erin Blanchfield, her opponent. We are still waiting for Ryan Spann, who's taking on Dominic Reyes this weekend. And we're also waiting for Mike Trezano, who's taking on Choi Sung-woo. And I believe that we're still waiting for Nikolai Nugamarenu as well, who's kicking off the night with Carlos Ulberg. So 4 fighters still to come through for official weigh-ins. But everybody in the main card, bar Alex Pereira, has come through so far. Right, let's get back to Mike taking the mick out of me. What's next for Dustin if he loses? Pick the fights that interest him like RDA did, or call it a day. Nick, you can start with that one. What do you think?
I think there's a lot of still big fights out there. Dustin Poirier remains one of the biggest stars in the sport, of course, on the back of his back-to-back knockout wins over Conor McGregor. I think it's tough. I think only Dustin can answer that. I think right now the psychology won't be, what do we do if we lose? The psychology will be, I'm 100% going to beat Michael Chandler. I'm going to lay a claim to get a title shot and get that belt finally wrapped around my waist. But I think there's also a real conversation now about where Dustin Poirier is and whether he enters that unwanted top 10 list of the greatest UFC fighters never to win a UFC title. He had the opportunity when Khabib retired. He was the world number 1. The UFC said, the belt's there for you, son. Vacant. Where do you want to do it? And he said, no, I'll come back to it. Let somebody else have a crack. I'm going to go and cash in on the Conor McGregor trilogy. Absolutely no complaints there. I would have done exactly the same thing. But will it ultimately cost him his legacy-defining moment of lifting a UFC championship belt? Did he miss this opportunity there between Khabib and Islam to become the champion? And will he always pay the price for it? I don't know where his mind's at. I touched on it earlier, Mike. The guy made a fortune with his double fight with Conor McGregor. Obviously, the first fight doesn't really count. The 2 fights with Conor, the 2 knockouts, he would have made more money than he probably ever dreamt of making as a mixed martial artist. He's now got his chili sauce endorsed by the UFC. That's probably bringing in a few quid as well. He's living on silk sheets these days. It's the old adage in fight sports. And is the dog still in Dustin Poirier to be able to not only, to bounce back if he were to lose to Michael Chandler tomorrow night? I don't know whether it is. Only he can answer that.
Guys, please. Please, you're talking about this guy like he's 42 years old, like he's lost his last 5. You know what I mean? The man is 9-2 in his last 11 fights, with those 2 losses coming to Khabib and Charles Oliveira. Okay, this man is still top of the food chain, and he's only 32 years old. He is in his prime. I think he did the right thing going after Conor McGregor, because we are prize fighters, and the ultimate prize is the money. That's why we do this. We don't do it because we think, yeah, I'm going to sacrifice my life and my body. I'm going to fight people almost naked in a cage in 4-ounce gloves. We do it because we go, right, okay, this is the kind of cloth that we've been cut from. This is our avenue. This is our road. This is how I make money. So you go after the cash first. The legacy takes care of itself. And I think if he loses, he'll still be one of the top people in the division. But if he does lose, it just shows that grapplers are very bad matchups for him. You know, Islam, Oliveira, and now Chandler. I think if Chandler does beat him, it's going to be because he uses his wrestling. Look at him against Tony Ferguson. He got dropped in the second round. I thought, right, I need to wrestle this guy. Or maybe it was even the first round when he got back up. Bloody exploded Ferguson right across the octagon. Chandler can wrestle, but he's been so hell-bent, like against just engaging and putting on these amazing performances. He loves to please the crowd. But I do think Chandler will wrestle. So this will present a lot of problems for Poirier. But win or lose, I think he's still one of the biggest names in the sport.
Listen, I know that you pluralized that, guys. It wasn't even my question. It was a question on the screen, right? And it was only Nick speaking. Don't drag me in. I'm
shoot the messenger.
I'm here with the messenger. Bro, I'm here. I'm team Poirier. I'm all here, son. Don't you worry about me, lad. I'm all on. Anyway,
listen. The point I'm trying to make.
Don't defend it now.
I know you've
made the point.
Of course,
you've made your point.
I'm gonna.
Yeah. You said he's done. You said he's done. Poirier's old news. No, he can't win. He's at the highest level.
He's one of the best fighters that have never won the title. That's what you said.
He's in his silk sheets. Do you know what I mean?
That's what you said. If he loses, he runs the risk of that being his legacy. And yes, he is only 33 years of age, Mike, but he's also been a pro for 14 years. He's had 36. Your age thing must be different from mine. I've got 33. But anyway, he's 14 years a pro. Listen, we all remember Fightville, Mike, when he was like a 16-year-old kid. That's great like decades ago now. But he's had 36 professional fights now with this weekend. And he's had 4 pay-per-views. You know, this is a guy, been there, done it, has got the T-shirt, has got the bank balance to show for it, just hasn't got the belt on the mantelpiece. If he loses to Michael Chandler this weekend, realistically, how far away is Dustin Poirier from a lightweight title shot? At least 2 fights. So that's his 38th fight. That means he won't fight for the title, even if he wins those fights, until his 39th fight. Michael Bisping, you achieved your entire legacy in 39 fights. The guy isn't a spring chicken. He isn't fresh as a daisy. He isn't entering, the glory days of his career. He's at his peak right now. And if he loses this fight, he's in serious trouble of never winning the belt. The point I was trying to make.
Correct. And you are also correct in that he's 33 years old. But I will also say this. I had my glory days at 37 years old, and whether he's 32 or 33, he's still got 4 more years. Come on, we can't hang this guy out to pasture just yet. But what I can do, I've been waiting for an opportunity. I need to go and spend the penny. It's very early here. I've had coffee, and there's no one on the scale. Yeah. So I'm going to run off for a minute. You guys play nice. Don't talk too badly behind my back.
Play nice. We always play nice. It's you that doesn't play nice. Look at him. He's off. He's gone. He's not even paying attention to us. Just cleared off. He'll be back in a minute. Whilst he's gone, I think it's a nice place, actually, to pay a little bit of tribute to Frankie Edgar. What do you reckon, Nick? Obviously, this weekend, calling time on his MMA career. He's already said on several occasions when posed the question this week at press conferences that it'll be the last time that you see him doing his thing in MMA, and obviously the last time as a UFC athlete. A stellar career that stems back to 2007. And God knows how many weight divisions. Former lightweight champion. This one's obviously at bantamweight. Nick, I'll kick back. This guy is a first ballot Hall of Famer all day long.
Yeah, of course he is. The Frankie Edgar is, everything that epitomizes a UFC and mixed martial arts athlete. He's been a phenomenal superstar for this sport. A decade ago, this guy was, the Islam Makhachev of his day, if you like. He was dominating the lightweight division. He was having these incredible fights with the likes of Gray Maynard, a triple fight, BJ Penn, a triple fight, you know, the rivalry he had with Benson Henderson. Bear in mind, this was all up at 155 pounds. It's not like Frankie has shrunk over the years. He was always the same size Frankie. He was just doing it 2 weight divisions above where he probably should have. Very similar to Jose Aldo, another former opponent, of course, of Frankie Edgar. He's fought everybody of his generation, all those names, including wins over the likes of Charles Oliveira and Cubby Swanson and Ched Mendez and Uriah Faber, Jeremy Stevens, you name it. That absolute glory run that he's had in there. Yes, he's had a tough part of his career right now. Yes, he's starting to look a little bit old, but he's allowed to. He's 41 years of age. The body is the mind is willing, Adam, but the body is no longer willing. I think it's the right decision to walk away and hang the gloves up. He is on a bit of a tough run of defeats at the moment, knockout defeats as well, which are the most scary thing. You know, Frankie Edgar was famed for not only his cardio, not only his wrestling, not only his, you know, his entire tempo around the game, but he had a sensational chin. And that's what he built his lightweight run on 10 years ago. To see him now and see that chin weaken now and the losses that he's having, the spectacular knockout losses that he's been suffering from, that's not fitting of his resume. It kind of reminds me a little bit of Roy Jones Jr., one of the greatest boxers of all time, that stayed around for too long, got losses at the end of his career, and probably soiled his legacy a little bit. We're not there with Frankie, but I think we've got the right decision about him hanging his gloves up. No better place for him to put his gloves down, centre of Madison Square Garden. But as you touched on then, right at the very beginning, first ballot Hall of Famer, shoe-in every single day of the week. But will we get a fairy tale finish? Michael Bisping, I will be watching this one from behind the sofa, I'm afraid.
Correct.
Yeah, listen, Frankie Edgar, I mean, when you look at his resume, when you look at his record, it is literally legend after legend. And people always say, oh, this guy's fought a who's who of MMA. Right? You go all the way back. We're talking Sean Sherk, BJ Penn twice, Gray Maynard, Benson Henderson, Jose Aldo, Charles Oliveira.
I've just done this while you were having a wee. I went right through his resume.
Well, I guess I'll just shut up then and just sit here and look pretty.
I know we're still in time, but come on.
No. All right. Well, all right.
From a
really
fan point,
good.
Yeah, no, listen, from a fan point of view this weekend, obviously, Nick's touched upon this right at the start of the show. I think every single fan, and this is no disrespect to Chris Gutierrez, I think when we watch UFC, we know that it's the best against the best. We know that there's no real easy matchups. There's no real layups. It's competitive always. And Frankie's last 2 performances against Sandhagen and Cheeto, they ended extremely badly for him, where he was knocked out absolutely viciously cold. And everybody will want that fairy tale moment. He's going to have to earn it. It's not going to be given to him this weekend. He's going to have to go out there and show us something that he's not shown us in his last 2 fights, Mike.
Correct. But also, look at the names you mentioned, though. Marlon Chito Vera. This close to a title fight, just knocked out Dominic Cruz in a similar fashion. Corey Sandhagen, also one of the best guys. And as much as I love Marlon Vera, because he's a good friend of mine and trains with Perillo, he was losing that fight. Frankie was doing very, very well. He was probably ahead on the scorecards due to the wrestling. It was close. It was close, is what I'm trying to say. It wasn't like he was getting outclassed. He was hitting takedowns. He did control him in round 1. Round 2 was probably very close. And then that front kick was spectacular from Marlon. And that turned the lights off. You know, but he's still fighting top of the food chain guys. And this realistically is a big opportunity for Chris, because it shows, does he belong in the elite? You know what I mean? And not that Frankie Edgar's a gatekeeper, but if you can beat Frankie Edgar now, then you're stepping up. And if you can't, it means maybe you're not destined for that top 5. And Frankie coming into this, yes, miles on the clock and all the rest of it, but you can never count that guy out, you know, and he's going to, yeah, all right. You know, he's been knocked out a few times and there's a lot of damage on the body and a lot of miles on the clock and whatever phrases you want to use. But the heart and the will and the desire that made Frankie Edgar the person that he is in the first place, that is still there. And regardless of whether he's retiring or not, he's going to go out there. He's going to fight his heart out. He's just down the street. Make no mistake, the crowd is going to go crazy for him. And everyone loves Frankie. Everybody respects what he's brought to the table. You know, I think this is the perfect way to bow out of an absolutely stellar career.
Just hope he gets that moment. I think every fan hope he gets that moment on the microphone at the end where he gets to just address a sensational career. Because as you boys have just rightfully just gone over the last few minutes, it's just been absolutely outstanding. What a ride from 2007 in the UFC for Frankie Edgar. For those that are just tuning in, I know that you're checking the time there. We've got about, we've got 40 minutes, it says, on the clock here for people to hit the scales. Alex Pereira is who we're waiting for. The man that is in the main event. No, we've got two. There's Alex Pereira is the only one from the main card that we are waiting for. We are still waiting for Mike Trizano, Ryan Spann, Mike Trizano, and Nikolai Negumereanu, who's on the first fight. So we're waiting for 4 fighters, but with all due respect to the other 3, Alex Pereira is the one that we're most concerned about at the moment, because like I said, 40 minutes to go. The champions weighed in, the co-main events weighed in, the rest of the main cards weighed in. He has to hit 185 pounds, something that he's not done in the UFC. And as Nick pointed out, last November, he was still competing at light heavyweight in the world of kickboxing. So listen, we might be totally over-egging it. We might be totally going over the top with it. He might just be sat there having a little bit of a laugh, thinking, I'll just wind a few people up and I'll come in half an hour, 15 minutes to go and get this job done. But you would think that if you were on weight and everything was cushy, you'd be back at the buffet cart right now, rehydrating, Michael, because that's what I'd be doing if I'd had a 24, 48 hours without any food going down my throat.
No. Well, that's not even open for debate. If he was on weight, he'd be on the scale straight away, rehydrating, replenishing, taking on nutrients, trying to go for a little nap. Because the night when you're cutting weight, you don't sleep very well. Why? Because you're probably 15 pounds dehydrated. Most people do half of it first, then they'll go to sleep, and then they get up in the morning and they do the other half. This is concerning. This is alarming. Simple as that. All right. Maybe they said, last night, we'll just do a few pounds and we'll do the bulk of it in the morning, so you're not in a dehydrated state for that long. But even still, this is concerning. 185, first time ever. Nick, forgive my ignorance, and I'm not trying to put you on the spot, but when he was fighting at light heavyweight in Glory, what weight is that? Is that 93 kilos? Is it similar to the MMA style of weight classes?
Yeah, I'm pretty certain it's 93 kilos. Yeah. I'm pretty certain it is. So, he was a much bigger boy there. 209, I think it is, for kickboxing. Actually, it's a tiny bit lighter, but it's in that stratosphere, absolutely. So that's my concern at the moment. And quite weirdly, with the UFC, with a lot of these numbered events recently, we've seen a backup fighter. Volkanovski flew to the other side of the world to be the backup fighter on Fight Island. As far as I'm aware, there's no backup fighter for this main event currently in New York City. So how far away are you, Mike?
Wellington Turman and Andre Petrosky. What are you talking about? They're the perfect replacements.
Someone check Hamzat Chimaev's Twitter and let me know where he is. Is he in the Big Apple? Because there could be a phone call coming his way if there is.
Listen, we'll keep our eyes on that for you. Do stick with us. Scheduled, hopefully, to weigh in before 4 o'clock UK time. I've got something for you, gentlemen. Now, before this hits the screen, you are both men that have been under the tattoos pen at some point in your life. I know that you've both had artwork done. Nick, you've had extensive work on in the tattoo department, as have you, Michael. I want you to check this out. I don't know if you saw this from Cheeto, his new piece. Look at that little bad boy. Right on the back of his bonds. What do you reckon of that one, Mike? Would you fancy a little bit of a skull tattoo?
Well, do you know what? I'm trying to figure out what he did, because last time I saw him, he had a scorpion on his head. Maybe it's on the other side. I think it is actually. Yeah, you can just see it towards the left of the screen. So, he's proper going full on Scully isn't it? I mean, that's not my cup of tea, but I guess he could grow his hair back. But yeah, Cheeto does love a good tattoo. He's always in New York City. He goes to like some la-di-da tattoo artist that's very, very hard to get in with. But I know nothing about it. I've got one tattoo. I'm not an aficionado. I'm not a connoisseur, and I'm not an authority on it. But that to me looks like he's got a picture of Wildcat from what was he called? From He-Man? What was it? It was a Wildcat and Cringer. He's got Cringer. No, he's got a tattoo of Cringer on the back of his head.
That's right. He-Man's Wildcat. Absolutely, it does look like that. So, Nick, yeah, I don't know about head and. No, see, I know I'm kind of covered, but I don't go past the cuffs and I don't go past the neckline either. You know, you never know when this game might be finished, and I've got to go and work in a bank or something. So I like to be able to cover my tattoos up and look somewhat respectable. So even though I've got a full head of hair, I could probably grow that out. I'll leave that one to Cheeto. I don't think I'd get that one past the wife's sign off, to be honest with you.
It's always a brave move, isn't it, when they go for neck tattoos and face tattoos. Face tattoos these days, they're becoming more and more, more and more a thing. But it's like,
prominent, yeah.
Really? Especially women as well, no offense. When they're picking up the kids, we're all going to hit our 50s and 60s. You know what I mean? Do you think those tattoos are going to look quite as good? When you're a grandmother or a grandfather, you know what I mean? You're going down the primary school to pick up your grandkids and you're covered in face tattoos. So it was all the rage back in the day. So, good luck getting them removed.
Listen, a little bit of news from New York City. Obviously, we haven't got any behind-the-scenes action for Alex Pereira. We don't know where he's currently at the moment. We're waiting for him to weigh in, but we're being told from our eyes and ears on the ground that the New York Commission will allow an extra 2 hours for Alex Pereira to hit weight from the time he steps on the scales, if he happens to miss weight, that is, of course. The rule applies for title fight competitors only in the state of New York. So he'll get an extra 2 hours once he's hit the scale. He's got to hit the scale first. If he misses weight, he'll get an extra 2 hours from that point, as per the rules of New York State Athletic Commission. We will keep you across that information that is coming to us. How did this make you feel, Nick? Hopefully our production team have got the Everton shirt to Israel Adesanya piece ready for you now, mate, because I believe that Molly McCann has been out in New York recruiting. Now you're a diehard Red, mate, and she's gone out there and taken the blue half of Liverpool to one of your favourite fighters.
Yeah, this is unfortunately what Evertonians have to do, is blackmail people into supporting their club. I feel sorry for Izzy there. He's obviously been put in a situation that he was unaware of. There's the token hug from the Evertonian. Yeah, I bet you that's probably lying on the bath mat floor of Izzy's dressing room as we speak right now. But yeah, listen,
someone's bag straight away.
Exactly, yeah. Alex Iwobi, obviously a Nigerian international, plays for Everton. I get it, Mal. I get what you're trying to do, but just remember, she's tried to do that before with certain people, and now they support Nottingham Forest. These Americans and Kiwis and whatever, man, they're not really into Premier League football like we are. So, let them crack on. Wait until he comes over to fight in the UK when he fights Till at the stadium. See what I did there? And then see if he wears the shirt then. That's all I'm saying.
Look at you. You take it so personally, don't you, what she's up to out there. She's just enjoying herself, taking the man a new football shirt. Anyway. I think what we're going to do, we're going to hear from Caroline, who's out in New York. She's been speaking to various fighters throughout the course of the week. I think it's only fair that we catch up with Caroline just to get that behind-the-scenes look as to how the fighters have been acting in and around Fight Week over in New York City. Over to you, Caroline.
Thanks, guys. Well, it's been a brilliant week here so far in New York, certainly feeling the energy of the Big Apple. And I've been talking to a lot of the fighters as the week's gone on. I sat down with the main eventers, Alex Pereira and the champion Israel Adesanya, and they're kind of approaching this fight differently. For Izzy, he said it is personal, whereas Alex said that's not the case. He's treating this as if it'd be the first time they would have fought one another. And you can see Izzy's kind of giving him his bragging rights and keeping quite quiet about the whole thing. He's going to let his work do the talking in the octagon on Saturday night. night. And in the co-main event, Carla Esparza and Zhang Weili, interesting one at the press conference. Carla getting a lot of boos from the crowd. I think it kind of surprised her somewhat, and so much love for Weili. I mean, we all know what exciting and interesting fights she puts on, but it'd be interesting to see how that affects their fights come Saturday night. And then what everyone's touting as the people's main event between Michael Chandler and Dustin Poirier. Poirier's ready for violence. Pretty much that's all I can say about that. He is dialed in and ready to go, and both of them are predicting a finish. It's going to be, of course, the last fight for Frankie Edgar, a legend of the sport. So much love for him as well. But Chris Gutierrez is certainly bringing it to him. He said, yeah, he's done his part in the sport. He's a legend, but it's my time now. But obviously Frankie Edgar wants to sail off into the sunset here in his home city of New York on a win, so we'll be looking out for that. And of course, our very own meatball Molly McCann. I spent some time walking around Times Square with her. We played a little bit of golf. She's in great spirits. She manifested this. She wanted to be here in New York City. She's soaking it all up. And of course, she wants another finish as well. So much to look forward to. Cannot wait for UFC 281 Saturday night. Back to you guys.
Top stuff. Thanks, Caroline. One of the interesting points that Caroline just brought up there with the conversations that she had with some of these fighters is that the confession of Israel Adesanya saying that it is personal. I'm sick of seeing fighters when you have these narratives and they go, nah, it's just another day at the office. It's just business. It's just this. It's just that. Nah, man, let's be honest about it. Let's be transparent about it. And I like the fact that Israel Adesanya's gone, yeah, it is personal. This guy's got bragging rights over me, mate. So I'm going to take it to him, Mike.
Yeah, well, of course it's personal, because I think he'd be easily identified as a liar if he said he wasn't. As fighters, we all pride ourselves on our fighting ability. Do you know what I mean? That's what we hold nearest and dearest to our hearts. And there's a guy out there that has a very good claim to say that he's a better fighter. He's beaten him twice in kickboxing, once by decision, once by knockout. The pattern, as small as this pattern is, the pattern and the trend shows that when they fight, Pereira beats him. Okay, so it's up to Izzy now to derail that and to put his career back on track. Not put his career back on track, but take away that reputation and say to the world, I can beat this man. I'm going to beat this man. And he does take it personally. And I think when he sees Pereira, it brings out these emotions that he doesn't want, that he's not used to. Izzy's not used to looking at another man and having another man that's beaten him twice. It's just unfamiliar territory for him. So it makes him flustered. It makes him a little angry. It makes him a little emotional. But that said, when it comes down to the fight, I think we're going to see a very, very cautious Izzy. Look at him. Look at Robert Whittaker. Robert Whittaker said that Izzy is a defensive fighter. And he was defensive the second time out against Robert Whittaker. First time he flatlined him in round 1 and finished him in round 2. But he was still defensive and cautious the next time out. He was defensive and cautious against Jared Cannonier. Sorry, pardon me. Defensive and cautious against him, even in a fight where he was so far ahead in terms of point scoring. Don't tell me that Izzy coming into this one isn't going to be strategic. He is going to be laser focused because he's fighting a guy that he knows can flatline him. It's one thing thinking maybe this guy connects, he can knock me out. It's another thing knowing, hey, last time I stepped a foot in a ring or a cage with this guy, I got put to sleep. So he isn't going to play any silly games. He isn't going to be silly. He isn't going to be overly aggressive. He's not going to play the game of Alex Pereira. He's coming in, he's taking this personally, which means he's taking it seriously. There's going to be no fooling around. There's going to be no shenanigans. It's going to be Izzy trying to carry out a strategy to a T.
Nick?
Yeah, listen, I completely agree, you know, and they've said very much the same thing. Eugene Betterman did an interview. He said exactly the same thing. He said, you know, we've been carrying this around for a little bit. Izzy made mistakes in that second fight down in Brazil. He was winning the fight handsomely and he made mistakes. He tried to go toe-to-toe with Pereira unnecessarily. So there's absolutely no chance this is going to be like we expect Poirier versus Chandler to be, just an old-fashioned slobber knocker. This is going to be a very technical fight. But I also like the fact that Pereira's come out with his attitude as well. He's gone, listen, let him be emotionally involved. Let him tell you all how he's carrying this around like a weight on his shoulders and, you know, how he's going to do this and do that. I've already beat him twice. It's just business for me. This is what I do. Turn up, cool, calm, collected. Beat this guy twice before. This time it's in a cage. So what? I'll beat him again. So I kind of like Pereira's attitude around it all as well. He's trying to brush it all off, trying to take it all in his stride. But of course, the other element is he's never been here before. He's never been in a big pay-per-view UFC main event, sold out Madison Square Garden, with the type of numbers, the type of viewers that the UFC demands. I know he was successful in Glory, but it's chalk and cheese in terms of the amount of eyeballs that are going to be on him this weekend. So I appreciate the fact he's trying to take it in a stride, but also all this is going to be very brand new. He'll have done more media this week than he's ever done in his career, Alex Pereira. So that's another element to add on top. There's so many narratives at play in this fight. That's what makes it so super intriguing. Izzy could be punch perfect, Mike, for 4 rounds and 4 minutes. But in the final minute, he could take his eye off the ball. He could try and showboat. He could try and maybe pull the trigger to get that sensational rubber stamp finish. And Alex Pereira could land another left hook and it would be game over. That's what makes it so intriguing for me.
I tell you what, boys.
Absolutely.
We've only got 25 minutes, though. We're not going to have a main event. I'm sure Pereira is going to show up. And if, as you said before, Adam, if he doesn't make weight, he has another 2 hours. But what you said there, Nick, is absolutely right. You know, Pereira is dangerous until the final bell. But this does now give me cause for concern, the fact that he's coming down so late. Who knows? As I said before, it might be part of the plan. But generally, you want to get on the scale as soon as possible. You want to start rehydrating. And this is concerning. And bad weight cuts generally result in bad stamina and cardio the longer the fight goes. So, yes, he's dangerous until round 5. However, after a terrible weight cut, he might not be dangerous after round 2. And these are the kind of consequences that you have if you get it wrong on the scale.
Yeah. Listen, we're going to keep you across it. 25 minutes for Alex Pereira to hit the scales. Everybody on that main card's already come through, just in case you're just joining us. Champion was through nice and early. Israel Adesanya. Wang came through nice and early as well. So that co-main event's in the books. Everything else on that main card, including off the main card as well, which I know you're interested in, Molly McCann and Blanchfield, came through nice and good. We're just waiting for Alex Pereira to seal that main card for us. Just trying to keep up to date with everything that's going on in New York City with that as well. Let's get some questions on the screen. I believe there's a few. These are going to be for you, Nick, because I know that there's a lot of people wanting to talk about Paddy, wanting to talk about Molly, where they're currently at. Paddy out, obviously, at UFC 282 coming up in Las Vegas. Do you think that Paddy not being there will affect Molly, Nick?
Honestly, I think it may do, yeah. I think Molly's obviously, she's her own athlete and she's got to do her own thing, and she's been in the UFC longer than Paddy, and she had wins in the UFC before Paddy joined the UFC, and maybe she wants to, this has been a real close team decision to go, right, you know what? We're not just the double act. That isn't all we're about. We are super successful, talented, in Molly's case, contenders already in our own divine right. So let's go separate ways. It's not an issue. However, somebody like Paddy being around the team, being in the dressing room before the fight, the energy that he's kind of like the captain of that next generation team. I know he's a bit younger than Molly, but he has this energy about him. When you go to Next Gen, when you go to their gym and Paddy's not there, you can feel there's something missing from the room. And I think that will play a part inside the dressing room as well. Whether it's Paddy playing round, whether it's Paddy acting a goat or whatever it may be, just brings a different type of energy. And I think that just helps Molly balance out a little bit, So yeah, I do think it will be lacking something. But you know what? Maybe without him being there, maybe Molly is just going to be that little bit more dialed in. So you never know. It could go the other way as well. But listen, this is a big fight for her. Paddy Pimblett doesn't get inside the octagon with Molly McCann. She gets in the octagon on her own. She's the one that's done the work. She's the one that's built this entire 8-week fight camp around this opportunity to climb within touching distance of the top 10. And I tell you now, the thing with Molly that I've learned over the last few months especially is that the skill has caught up with the will. The will was always there. She always had the heart, determination, the energy to be successful in this sport, but the skill hadn't quite caught up to the aspirations. It has now. She is 100% a professional. She's surrounded herself with the best possible people in their field, not just in coaching mixed martial arts, but I mean, training partners have been next level for this camp. The strength and conditioning team she's got around her is next level for this camp. Everything has been ticked now, and it's about Molly McCann going out there and doing what she does best. And I don't think it'll matter that Paddy isn't sitting at cage side on Saturday night. He might just be missed in the dressing room, that's all.
Do you want to answer that one on the screen, Mike? What happens if Meatball Molly does something spectacular at Madison Square Garden against Erin Blanchfield? She then will probably, come Tuesday morning, be on the cusp of a top 10 ranking. She's currently at 15. And with the champion going through everybody, what then do you next? I think in the preview show, we talked about Alexa Grasso, didn't we?
Alexa Grasso.
As maybe a potential opponent. Is that where you would like to see her go?
Yeah, definitely. I think, number one, stylistically, just for a fan-pleasing fight, I think that would be a crazy matchup. Grasso's got beautiful boxing. We know Molly likes to fight on the feet. Grasso's, I'm not sure what she's ranked, but she's definitely far ahead of Molly. She's one of the top players right now, I do believe. She's like 4 or 5, something like that. I could be wrong, but she's highly ranked. So it would be a logical next step in terms of progression. And as I said, in terms of a matchup, it's great for Molly and it's great for Alexa. They both get to fight their kind of fight. You know, even in this one, Molly, I think for Erin Blanchfield, she's going to be looking to spoil her. She's going to look to take it down and put her on the back. Those kind of fights are always frustrating. You never really want to let go with your hands fully because the threat of the takedown is always there. Yeah, of course, we're all mixed martial arts. We can all do takedowns and we've all got a bit of jiu-jitsu. But Grasso versus Molly, that would be a beautiful stand-up affair that I think both ladies would welcome. So, yeah, a win here, put her up against Grasso, and if she could get through that, then now we're getting serious.
Look at Nick's face there. He had a little smile on his face when Mike was just waxing lyrical about the potential rise in 2023. But there's a lot to get through, obviously, none more so than this weekend against Erin Blanchfield, who is no joke, as Mike just pointed out, an elite grappler, BJJ black belt, very, very good. Yes, she's young, 23 years of age, just burst really onto the scene. But she's had 3 decent performances, got a finish last time out against JJ Aldridge. This is a proper test this weekend, and it's going to be interesting to see with her. I think she's from New Jersey as well, isn't she, Erin Blanchfield? So therefore, she's relatively local, but I know that Nick's going to tell us that the superstar status of Meatball Molly will be taking over the Big Apple, and it will feel like a homecoming fight for her. Listen, it's going to be unbelievable when that fight kicks off, and you'll be able to catch it on BT Sport 2. Don't forget, those prelims get going from 1. Nick will tell you to be in position from 1 o'clock so you don't miss anything, all right? I agree with him. Don't miss anything. All right, make sure you come and join us at 1, then you don't miss out.
It's always concerning when you start seeing Mark Ratner floating around the scales.
Yes.
You know what I mean? It's like, okay, there's a bit of drama going on back there. There's a bit of something happening because they're bringing in the head, you know, Mark Ratner's the head of, I forget his title now, head of commission affairs, relative business, something important. Head of regulatory affairs or something like that.
Yeah,
correct.
Listen,
yeah,
Mr. Chimaev, where are you, son? Are you at 185 right now?
Listen,
where are you? Are you 185? Are you under 185? We need that. Yeah, get on the plane, son, and get your backside to New York City. We need to commission a title fight. This is squeaky.
I'm surprised he's not with Darren this week.
So
Darren, it's next blooming month. What am I saying?
Next month, yeah, but even so, like what Nick pointed out a moment or two ago, recently we've experienced that those main events have had backup fighters. Obviously, last time out we saw Volk fly halfway across the world, didn't we? And sit there just on the off chance that he gets a shot at the 155-pound strap. It's you know, maybe a little. Listen, I don't want to throw shade, but maybe a touch of an oversight. That there isn't a backup fighter for this.
I don't think it's an oversight. I mean, listen, you can't expect each and every time there's a title fight to have a worthy backup on every card. I think when you look at Israel Adesanya, there's never been an issue with him making weight, and they had confidence in Pereira because every time so far he's done it well. I'll say it again, that pound is a real issue. That going from 1, because listen, it took me to 37 to get a title fight. And I was like, well, I've made 186 many times. Making 185, that extra pound, when it's hard enough to make 186, that extra pound is a killer. But I don't think any criticism being thrown towards the UFC is fair, to be honest. It's not on the promotion to have a solid backup. It's on the fighters in question. And who knows, maybe Pereira waltzes out here in a few minutes' time with a smile on his face and everything was, listen, hey, he has a 2-hour window. So maybe he wants to use it. So we might be getting ahead of ourselves. But if, God forbid, he doesn't, it's not the UFC's fault. That criticism would 100% be on Alex Pereira. Yeah. But I get what you're saying. I do get. No, I get it. Because a pattern has formed. A trend has been set. What's another one?
I don't know.
I'm not helping you.
I like where you were going with. Yeah. I like where you were going.
A pattern has been
leaving it out there.
A trend has been set. The wheels are in motion. That doesn't work.
What we know for sure is that in the next 15 minutes, Alex Pereira is going to stand on these scales. It's looking increasingly like he is not going to make 185-pound championship weight, which will activate the 2-hour window that he's afforded by the New York State Athletic Commission. But that's not a good look. If you're Israel Adesanya, who weighed in one of the first half dozen or so to weigh in,
it's already a win.
He's already feels like he's one round up now because he's in his room. He's starting his rehydration process. He's comfortable. He knows that the challenger is clearly, evidently, struggling like mad.
He's just tweeted. You can see it on the screen. Israel Adesanya has just tweeted. Our team are just throwing it up there. He's
what is that?
He's just casting
popcorn.
Just casting doubt. Yeah.
What is that?
His eyes are glued, man. He's watching. He doesn't say anything.
Of course he is. But what is that? Is that tubs of it's popcorn? Is it,
mate? That's all it's saying is that he's watching what's going on because he's got his eyes glued to these scales for the next 15 minutes. Where is Alex Pereira? Yes. Last Bender. Hopefully you're enjoying the rehydration. Thank you very much.
Hey, and it's not just him either.
Tuning on in.
It's the I'm sorry, Adam, I didn't mean to cut you off. It's not just him, it's his whole team. The management, the team, the training partners, all the City Kickboxing, they're all sitting around now in Izzy's suite. They're watching it, they've got it on, and they're already celebrating. They're all like, because either way, they're saying, either way, you have been hydrating for almost 2 hours now. And that makes a difference in terms of stamina, and it makes a difference in terms of the ability to take a shot. You know what I mean? Because the liquid around the brain, the cerebral fluids, they're much harder to replace. And that's why you need the longest amount of time possible. And that's why there is a cutoff, you know what I mean, for safety precautions. So Izzy and his whole team right now, we've got 14 minutes. The countdown has begun. This is high drama.
In total, Mike, if he does, in the next 15 minutes, if Alex Pereira hits the scale and misses weight,
14.
In total, Izzy has a 4-hour run on him on rehydration. He could have, because he's got an extra 2 hours, Pereira, as per the New York State Athletic Commission, in order to make championship weight. And you would think that he would attempt to do it, because if he doesn't, then he doesn't get the opportunity to win the championship belt tomorrow night.
And what's the point in the fight? You know what I mean? You go out there, you beat him, and you don't become the champion. I mean, listen, I think Pereira would still fight him anyway. Let's say he weighed in at, after all said and done at 186.5. But there's other questions. You know what I mean? Would Izzy have the fight? Izzy might say, well, what's the point? No, you never came in on weight. I don't think that would happen. I don't think we'd see the fight not materialize. But for Pereira, there wouldn't be a belt on the line. Neither would there be for Izzy. It would just be a fun matchup for the sake of it. But this is... 13 minutes now. The clock is ticking, and you got to think right now, there's a lot of people with, what is your expression that you like to use? Squeaky
bum time.
Squeaky bum time. There's some squeaky bums going on right now. Okay.
There is, mate.
There's a lot of squeaking. And Glover Teixeira is probably screaming at him. Come on, get back in the sauna.
The thing is, he's not the only... I know that obviously he's the one that we're all pointing towards. He's not the only one. We're still waiting as well for Ryan Spann. We haven't seen him come through yet. And waiting for his fight with Dom Reyes. And we haven't seen Nicolai Moreno or Mike Trizano. I knew you were going to pick me up on that. I went all continental on you, pal. And Dominic Reyes. Why not?
Dominic Reyes, this guy is not on the scale. It's a very, very...
Mate, he's not from Dagestan. Stop doing
that was a Spanish. Reyes. He's very concerning for me that he's not on the scale. Reyes is a big lump. Sorry, not Reyes. Ryan Spann is a big lump. Mm-hmm. He is. I've been side by side here, and I thought to myself, how on earth does he make 2-0? I mean, there we go. Looks like he's certainly struggling as well. But
members of our team are in that room at the moment, and they've just overheard Mark Ratner say, all I know is that it's very close. So we're in for, we've just said, a squeaky bum time in the next 10 minutes for Alex Pereira to hit weight, just in case you are just joining us. High drama at New York for the 281 weigh-in. Israel Adesanya's come through. He's off. He's rehydrating. He's already tweeting, enjoying himself, waiting for whether his opponent will make weight and that it will be a title fight for both tomorrow evening. He's the only person on the main card that we haven't seen as of yet. Is that a real backstage?
According to reports, Pereira is very close now. Yeah, we've got a weird situation because actually you got 3 fighters now who are going to rush to the scales all at one time. Even if they're going to miss weight, they need to get on the scales. I'm not too sure about the non-championship fights. There may well be an extra hour rather than an extra 2 hours. But you're going to have 3 guys basically coming out the lift at a very similar time, all jostling to get onto those scales.
Jostling. They're going to be no jostling. They're going to be slithering along and getting dragged by the cornerman going, come on, put one foot in front of the other. Just make it to the scale. Get your act together in front of the commission, okay? Take a deep breath. Exude confidence and strength, okay? Because they won't let you fight if you're walking in like this. But that's how they're going to feel. Make no mistake. But yeah, apparently Pereira is very close backstage, so that's good.
Digital scales as well for people that are just tuning in. It's not the normal slip and slide job. This is to the decimal point. So we're going to find out whether he is bang on 185 in a moment too. Do
you think it'll be that last pound, Mike? Are you expecting him? Are you expecting him to be on the scales 185 point something? Is that what you're expecting?
I mean, who knows, right? Who knows? Maybe he's coming in and he's going to be like 3 pounds over or something. But more than likely. More than likely. I mean, the reality is, though, what is this? His 7th MMA fight? Is that correct? He's 6-1, I believe, right? Yeah, so correct. It's still not a lot of times making 180, 186. You know what I mean? So it's not like he's got this crazy pattern formed over 10, 15 years in the UFC, and now he's going to make the extra pound. But logical thinking would say that it would be that, but we just don't know. Until he walks out, we have no idea of knowing. I tell you what, if he's backstage, he's taking his time.
Isn't he?
9 minutes, guys.
So much. There's so much
9 minutes
on the line here.
What do we think, Adam and Nick? Does he make weight or does he not make weight?
No.
What are we saying?
No, because it's a digital scale. He misses, and then he gets an extra 2 hours to make it, and then I think he'll make it. He'll drain himself.
Yeah,
I think like what you guys. I think what you guys have just said. I don't think it's going to be massive. I think it'll, because he's done 186 regularly. I think it'll be 185 point summit. And it's just struggling to get that last pound.
And I tell you what, because remember that picture that was going round right at the start of the camp when the fight was first booked, and he was on the scales, he was 218, and he was looking jacked, and he was like, I think he was calling his skinny boy or something like that. That is going to bite him in the backside pretty shortly if he doesn't make it. I mean, and the reality is, if Mark Ratner or whoever it was, your sources say that he's on the way, that means more than likely they've said, whoa. Doesn't matter if you're not ready to make weight. The weigh-in is closing. So if you want to, activate that 2 hours, you've got to come and get on the scale. So there's a good potential that the fact that he's this late, he's not on weight, and it's just a formality to, as I say, activate the extra 2 hours.
If any, what's the top we're looking at here, Mike? Realistically, if he struggled to make 185, he's going to weigh in 186, maybe even more than, maybe it's 186 plus. Realistically, anything north of 186.5 is, he ain't gonna make it, is he? Even with a 2 hour window.
Yeah. I don't think so. Having this amount of time, pushing it right to the final few minutes. If he walks in, as you say, 186.5, I don't think he's getting down to 185. You know, if it's in the region of 185 to 186, half a pound, something like that, with 2 hours and a little bit of a, go and lie down, gather your thoughts, right? Just take some deep breaths, close your eyes for 10, 15 minutes, please. And then we need you to summon up the energy. Alex, come on. This is a huge fight. It's a huge scenario. So we've got 2 hours. Go lie down, take 20 minutes, gather your thoughts, whatever, or even have a little bit of espresso, a little bit of honey, a little bit of orange juice, a little bit of natural sugar, just to give him that kick to be able to have the energy to get on a treadmill, to sauna. You know what I mean? To try and squeeze that last bit out, because that's what you do. In the mornings, I'd have a small espresso, I'd have a little bit of honey and a little bit of orange juice after doing about 7-8 pounds at night. And yes, that would have a negative effect because you're taking on a little bit of weight, but the energy that it would give you after starving yourself of carbohydrates and nutrients all week, all of a sudden, ding, you feel wide awake.
Wow.
You know what I mean? Like you've just, you've had a real injection of life. And then maybe you say, okay, let's do it. You've got 20 minutes of activity.
In his first UFC
There we
title
go.
There you go, boys. The box is out. He's going to be stripping right down, and he looks weak. Yeah, do it behind the curtain, son.
He doesn't look happy. Curtains out.
Here we go.
He's
made it. 184.6. He's made it.
184.6. The official
wow.
Alex Pereira, and that means
hey, Adam, why don't you ruin the tension and tell us before John Anik?
I know, yeah. Exactly. Spoiling it.
He wanted to get the clout for that one, guys. I know, he's already made it. Never mind.
Yeah, exactly. Just said 2 hours towards that, and you just spoiled it.
You might you must be on a delay, lads. I'm here, ready to rock and roll.
Well, I'm not looking at my phone. I'm dialed into the show. That's it. External distractions do not exist to me. You know what I mean? And by the way, everyone. Yeah.
Anyway, go on. Talk to me about that, because 184.6, so he's 0.4 under the limit, and he's pushed it right up until the last 5 minutes to weigh in, boys.
Well, as we say, there can be two game plans. Maybe he planned for this all along. Maybe we just don't know until somebody speaks to Pereira or his team or his coaches or Glover, whoever. We'll never know. But maybe it was. Maybe it came off really hard. Or maybe they did actually say, all right, listen, guys, we're going to do the bulk of it in the morning.
Heavyweight contender Ryan Superman Spann.
Here he is.
Right. Straight from the sauna.
Straight from, yeah.
I don't miss these days, guys. This is giving me anxiety just watching.
He's a unit, isn't he?
.206.6, the official weight
Missed
for Ryan
it by
Spann.
0.6.
Yeah.
Missed by 0.6.
The divisional limits.
Yeah, just curious to know whether he gets an hour now, as per the New York State rules. I'm not too sure what the rules are for non-championship fights. He may get an extra hour to get rid of that 0.6. Maybe he can't get rid of that 0.6 and decides to take a pace penalty, but he'll obviously be disappointed, Ryan Spann.
All right, next fighter to the scale.
Last one.
In the UFC's featherweight
division, we've got two
Michael
more.
Trizano.
We've got two more. Here comes Trizano, who's taking on Choi Sung-Kyu.
He doesn't look confident. I don't think he's going to make weight either.
Not.
And I'll tell you something, the UFC do such a great job. And I'm not sitting here and saying, hold on, he's going to make weight now and just make me look stupid. Let's just wait a second. Oh, yeah, he's made it, Adam. He's made it. Yeah. There we go. 132. Great.
He's missed it.
147.6.
Oof.
Oh, he's way missed it. He's missed it.
Yeah, no, so I was going to say a second ago, the UFC, and I'm not saying our generation had it so much harder, because that's what people always say, don't they? But it's true. We were on our own. We just had to go out there and do your best and scour the streets and look for all the equipment and the stuff that you need to make weight and your dietary requirements and all the rest. These days, the UFC are right there and they offer so much assistance that realistically, you've got no excuse. The only reason why you don't make weight, it's not because you couldn't find the products that you needed. You couldn't find, we use Sweet Sweat, we use Pedialyte, but they have all these different methods. UFC give you everything. They give you your food. They give you everything you need when you get there. So if you're not making weight, that's on you in terms of not being disciplined.
Box is out again for Nikolai Nemiganadu, light heavyweight.
Your name gets different every time, Adam.
Negamarinu.
Negamarianu.
This guy's a career wrestler. He's never missed weight before. Unusual this for someone with his background who's used to making weight to go this tight to the scales. He has if he's turning up this late.
Oh, what's he asking for?
Oh.
Get the kecks off.
Has he not taken the kecks off?
Get the kecks off.
The first shout then was 206.2.
206, the official weight.
There you go.
Nikolai Negu.
He's made it. The first shout was 206.2, so these kecks were 0.2. There you go.
Yeah, sounds about right.
Yeah, that's fair enough. That's fair.
But he's come through.
So it's just Ryan Spann and Trezano that missed weight then?
Yes, that's right. Even though
Carlos
four fighters left
Alberg.
it right up until the last minute. But there you go. Mike Trezano in his fight with Choi Sung-woo. He missed weight. And then as Mike just pointed out a moment or two ago, Ryan Spann for his fight with Dom Reyes also missed weight.
Coming up later today at 4 p.m. One more sleep.
Yeah. Just quickly, let's just look back at Pereira then, because of course most people would tune in and go, wait a minute, boys, you were building towards this huge anticipation of him missing weight. You had a big conversation about what weight would be too much weight, and yet there he goes. He comes in, he weighs in a couple of ounces,
nearly half a pound up,
championship weight as well. Mike, did he plan to weigh in the last period of the weigh-in process? Did he have a pound to go 2 hours ago and he's gone, yeah, man, sound, I'm going to weigh in first. I'm happy to weigh in last. It's all about the time. And again, the guy has never missed weight at light heavyweight or middleweight before. He sucked us all in, didn't he?
Well, I mean, we can only hypothesize, we can only query, we can only wonder because we don't know. But I say that is a bad game plan. If that was the game plan, if that was the idea, if my coach says, well, what we're going to do is we're going to get out of bed nice and late. Okay, we're going to have a good lie-in and we're going to push it. We're going to wait right until the final couple of minutes before the weigh-in closes. Then you're going to step on the scale and you're going to make weight. I'd be like, whoa. That sounds very risky. What if something goes wrong? We're not going to have time to make weight. That is not the smart game plan. So I don't think everything was a bed of roses. I think the weight cut was hard. I think it was probably that final pound, and as tough as you can be inside the octagon, it doesn't matter. Let me tell you, the process of trying to squeeze those last few pounds out of you, it will turn men into little boys very, very quickly. We've all seen famous footage of people like Jose Aldo, legends of the sport. They're turned into absolute cowards and little boys and little weaklings. And let me out of the sauna, please, because you are literally dying. And it's not a laughing matter. You are trying to squeeze out this water in this weight. And I think this morning there was a lot of panic stations going on in the corner of Alex Pereira. And this is a psychological advantage for Israel Adesanya before the fight even starts.
Yeah, I think it's
I will agree with that. But yeah, I will agree with that. And obviously what we've seen there with Ratner and McMahon and everybody running around will play into that as well. However, what I would say is, that energy that was in Izzy's dressing room where he posted Instagram post, I'm eating me popcorn, I'm watching this. Everyone's going, yeah, he's struggling, Izzy. But 1 round up, he's struggling. He's going to be dead tomorrow, dead at the weight. And then he rocks up and does that. That's how you silence a dressing room. And I bet you the silence was deafening in Team Adesanya's room there and then when he made weight and made weight comfortably as well.
Oh, yeah. No, they're gutted. They're gutted. Of course they are. You want to see him come in. They're like, oh, he's not going to make weight. This is hilarious. Is it? You're already on your third, whatever it is he's eating. You know what I mean? You're on your third bowl. Are you going to take a little nap, champ? Oh, you go have a little champ. All the while, your opponent is still trying to kill himself to make weight. Do you know what I mean? So they probably wanted him to make weight, but they wanted him to have to do an extra 2 hours. But it is what it is. You know what I mean? Ultimately, they're going to fight now. We've got a fight, and more importantly, everyone that bought a ticket has a fight. I can't wait. It's going to be a good one.
It is going to be a good one. It's going to be an absolute crackerjack. UFC 281 goes down in the early hours of Sunday morning on BT Sport 2. Make sure you come and join us for the prelims. Molly McCann on those prelims against Erin Blanchfield. Get in there nice and early from 1 so you don't miss any of the action, because it's a stacked undercard. And then that main card from 3 o'clock in the morning, starting off with the fight with Dan Hooker, looking hopefully to end that losing streak as he steps back up to lightweight. And then obviously finishing off with the middleweight title fight between Israel Adesanya and Alex Pereira. It's going to be one heck of a night. Make sure you come and join us for it, and then come back on Sunday. That's Mike's dog just barking in the background.
Harry!
Make sure you come back on Sunday for the review show. Gentlemen, pleasure as always to be in your company. No major dramas, 2 missed weight, but at least we've got 2 title fights to look forward to. It's going to be a cracker.
This is perfect for the storyline.
Alex Pereira knocked out Israel Adesanya with 1 punch.
Destiny awaits.
This is